Oh, hold on. Let's see if this works.
Matter of fact, everyone watching right now is probably, I can't say that for a fact, but we are live. I guess I could say my normal opening stuff. Hey, everyone. It's ModCast time. Episode 439. We're going to be talking about Wristbreaker Handcannons. I had other titles like Big Stupid Big Bores or something like that. Today's date, August 26, 2025. This is kind of a follow-on with our 45 Colt episode, which I absolutely loved. It was such a cool discussion talking about things. Yeah, as I was just telling Jason, and we said in a chat earlier, 45 Colt wasn't even on my radar until these guys started talking about this. And then they started going even further and further talking about other big bore stuff. And I thought, we're gonna have a repeat of that 45 Colt episode, essentially talking about all the other options. And as per the norm, this is so outside my normal knowledge base. I'm really looking forward to this because you guys have experience with this. You guys have hunted, reloaded, the whole 9 yards. This is just going to be a cool episode because for me, everything I own up until recently has a practical purpose, and I'm not a hunter. So this is going to be an opportunity for me to learn some new aspects. Now, I do need to have that warning that I said at the beginning of the 45 Colt episode, and that is to you listening or viewing or watching, big warning to you. By listening to this, there's a good possibility you may log on to Gunbroker. You might go on to Ellipses. You might go on to a bunch of different other places because you're going to start thinking about this and going, ooh, I want one of these, like many of us did with the 45 Colt episode. So be warned, you might wind up on an auction or have something ordered in some big bore caliber. And so basically when I say the big bore calibers, I'm talking about revolvers primarily. So for you, do you guys consider 44 mag to be in that, or is that at the lowest level of what you'd consider to be big bore?
I consider it in there when you load it properly.
Okay.
Think of the traditional 240 grain type bullet at your traditional 1350 type velocity. I would say it's in that transition area, but when you start talking the 300 grain plus loads, I think the 44 Magnum's a whole different animal. And with some loads, you really are pushing 454 Casull ballistics when you start talking about the 340 grain type stuff. So I personally count 44 Magnum in there.
So Jason, tell us about yourself.
So I'm Jason Cloessner. I'm Vice President at Ellipses. I do all the product development. So I do all the special makeups and exclusives and the special projects, and which is a pretty fun deal to do. Yeah. So we've got a lot of different new guns coming out and had a lot of big bore revolvers. That's one of our fortes. I've been a big bore handgunner pretty much my whole life. The second gun I ever bought when I was 16 was a Ruger Blackhawk and 41 Magnum. Got to be the weird guy that got a 41, not the 44. So. So that the degeneracy started quite early, but that was it. We shot big bore handguns, hunted with them. I just got back from Africa with one of my teenage sons, and we handgun hunted for 2 weeks and shot a lot of stuff with 44 Magnums and 480 Rugers, and had a good time. So that's kind of really, when it comes to the gun business, obviously polymer striker fired guns and Ruger 1022s, those pay the bills, and that's what the majority of the sales are. But when you talk about the things that get people excited, and what gets me excited is when we do a single action in 480 Ruger Bisley type project or a flat top 45 Colt or something like that. That's the kind of stuff that gets me pumped up, and it's really cool seeing this resurgence in younger guys getting in this. It's funny, we've got about 50, almost 60 sales reps in our office. And a lot of them are young guys we hire, and all of them, they come in, oh yeah, I know my guns, I hunt. And they realize about 2 weeks in that they know about maybe the Remington 700 that they deer hunt with and their 870 and a couple pistols. And they realize, they'll come to me in 2 weeks and go, man, I don't know shit about guns, and real quick. And it's funny. So what are you into? Oh, man, I want to get this MPX sub gun and this SCAR and all that stuff. Well, that's cool. I said, in about 2 years, you're going to be asking me about single action revolvers and Ruger #1 rifles. And they always laugh, like, whatever. And sure enough, now those guys, they don't care about ARs or that stuff. They're all into lever guns. They're all into single shot rifles. They're all into big bore revolvers. So it's, my work is done. So that's all good. But, anyways, that's what we do. And, that's really my passion and what I enjoy. So,
and that is why you're here. Most of the people I know locally, if they have anything that would be deemed big bore, they take it out to the range, shoot it a couple times. Yeah, that's an awesome kick. That's about it. Then you guys come in and talk about the actual applications, where we got guys here that hunt in Africa.
Yeah.
So and actually use this.
That's where we buy our guns, when that guy takes it out and shoots it one time and takes it and trades it in for a 357.
That's right.
Go in and snatch them up.
Rather ammo cheap. Yeah.
So, John, your background.
Oh, yep. I was in the Army for about 16 years, 15 and some change. I round up. Worked at Magpul for a number of years on the product development side, and work at a tech company that's on Matt's hat right now, Ace Virtual Shooting. Running products over there, learning how startups and tech works. And I love big bore revolvers. Those things were all my day job. This is what I do for fun. For me, I kind of framed out tonight at the context of starting with the 5-shot 45 Colt. But basically stuff that's hard to buy in stores, although it is getting easier and there's some good options out there. So excited to talk about like what it used to take to convert these things and how it came about and how much work went into it and why it costs so much to do it. Because we're unfortunately losing those guys to unfortunately passing away or retiring of old age right now. And man, it's factory guns luckily are coming along, but conversions, man, it's not what it used to be. So excited to talk about the big ones.
And I said it last episode where we were talking about 45 Colt. I had no idea how much of a revolver and big bore guy you were. And to find this out and then to hear you talk about it and hear that passion, it's just so cool.
Because we can only look at so many Glocks of the
and night vision and ARs and yeah.
No, man, I'll be in bed before the sun goes down. So just depends on how long this thing runs.
Yeah.
I don't wear night vision.
Bryan
with a Y. From AmericanFightingRevolver.com. Former cop, former mill guy. I'm like a single action addict. I feel like I'm in a meeting. Like I have to go to meetings now.
You do.
But my first experience with like a big bore handgun was an 8 3/8 inch Model 29 that hammer spurred me right here when I was 3. So that was my first introduction to quasi big bore revolvers. And then when I got a little older, I had a Dan Wesson 44 mag, 6-inch barreled 44 mag from the time I was 9 until I was about 17. And then I got in on that Smith 460 XVR pretty early. And then I started reading up on 454 Casull, and then company out of Baton Rouge started carrying this 5-shot, 5.5-inch Bisley 454 Casull. So that was kind of my next one. And then now I kind of got the gamut, but a lot of 45 Colt, a lot of 44 Magnum, and 41 Magnum. I don't know if you guys consider that big bore, but it's kind of the happy medium, so to speak. So
cool. And lastly, we have Caleb.
So I'm Caleb, part-time Air Force guy, full-time revolver degenerate. I actually went back and I looked through the unpublished archives of my old blog, and the first big bore revolver that I have an official record of me owning was I bought a 58 Remington black powder gun and a cursed converter to convert that sumbitch to 45 Colt, and shot it so much that I stretched the frame and blew the gun up. which looking back on it now, that's a pattern that I ended up repeating over and over for the rest of my career. But I got away from big bore guns for quite some time, just because I went through that phase that I feel like everybody goes through, where they think that you should, have two identical Glock 19s with weapon mounted lights and RMRs, and two identical ARs with, mid-length gas systems and ACOGs or whatever the hot optic was at the time. And I always kept shooting revolvers, but it was a long time before I got back into big bores. And when I did a couple of years ago, I got bit pretty hard, and I started shooting a lot of 45 and a lot of 44 Magnum, and then 44 Special, to the point that I took a 6-inch 44 mag to Africa and hunted plains game with it, and had some really, really great opportunities to do things with that gun that would surprise the sort of people who bought a Model 29 because of Dirty Harry and shoot it twice a year, right? Yeah. Like, to really kind of get what's really been fun for me in the last couple of years now has been getting into these guns and pushing their capabilities just with factory, like, what do we have coming out of the factories, right? Like, factory 44 Magnum is so much better than it was 20 years ago in terms of bullet selection, powder quality, primers, all of this other stuff. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I love it so much that I'm going back to Africa in next year. I'm doing a bear hunt with that same gun this year, and hopefully the day after tomorrow, I'm going to finally catch this wild hog I've been staring at on my buddy's game cameras for like 2 months.
So before we really get into the meat and potatoes of these big bores, these Wristbreakers, whatever, there is a good possibility, similar to the 45 Colt episode, which was live, YouTube may wind up taking this episode down. Now, with this in mind, it will be back up. It will just need some slight editing. It just won't be live. If you want to watch these live, go to patreon.com/primary and secondary. You get access to the live stuff. Otherwise, hopefully this is under the radar, and we're going to be showing guns and stuff, because we're not selling anything and we're not shooting anything. We're just
buying.
I would like people. I believe both Jason and I would very much like people to buy things.
Oh, definitely. But we're not actively saying this is on sale right now.
Fair.
But yeah, there is a possibility YouTube may wind up killing the feed. That being said, if they do that, then we're just going to go even further into, well, then maybe we will start selling things live for the Patreon supporters. So we talked a little about 44. I remember, what was it, 10, 20 years ago, 454 seemed to be the only big bore thing that I was familiar with. How did things develop? Who were the people behind this that said, you know what?
Well, factory guns, for one, for 454. Became more common with the Freedom Arms guns in 1983, the FA-83, I believe. This guy right here, it's a little bit newer, but see if they cut YouTube. Yeah. So and it's 45 Colt stretched out 20 thou, and 200, somewhere around there. I got the numbers, but stretched out 45 Colt to a 1.383 case length, and gassed it up and built a gun around it that you can still buy pretty much that same gun today. They haven't changed too much. So 454 came on the map. All the other bigger than 45 Colts for the most part at that time were Wildcats, as far as I know. Yeah. When you got into 500 line ball based on the 348 Win Mag. And then couldn't get 348 Win Mag brass anymore, so John Lineball started turning down case rims and cutting down cases and made 475. Then it didn't, Jason probably knows better than anybody, but the Ruger made the 480 Ruger, which is a great cartridge. Some people say it's 475 special. It's not. It's way close. You don't need one versus the other. Then the Blackhawk, I know there was a guy in the comments that said these are rare as hen's teeth. So here's one, the 6-inch.
There may be one sitting right here.
Yeah, factory super 6-inch gun. 6 or 6.5, Jason? 6.5. Yep. And that ammo, like I can go in big box stores around here and find 480 Ruger ammo, very regular, and 454 now. And then I think it probably went mainstream for most people when they started seeing the Smith & Wesson X frames, the 500 Smith & Wesson. Great cartridge. The X frame's a little much for me. I like that cartridge in other guns. And then the 460 that Bryan mentioned, which is about 1/3 of an inch longer than a 454 Casull. And it'll push, 500? What do they do? A 440 grain and I don't know. I don't shoot 460, but I mean, you're basically mirroring African safari cartridges in weight and velocity out of that thing.
You basically have a 4570 and a handgun.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Well, it actually beats, like when you start getting into longer barrel lengths, you actually start getting better terminal ballistics from a 460. And I love the 4570, like bar none my favorite lever gun cartridge. But we at Taurus USA, we produce a 10-inch 460 Magnum, right? So it's this giant space gun looking thing. My boss, Brett, actually used one to take a Cape Buffalo in Mozambique. He was using the Buffalo Bore Dangerous Game Loads, which is, it's a hard cast bullet going Mach fuck, and, it'll go through a tractor long ways.
Yeah.
He shot that buffalo 5 times with that thing, by the way. And if you've never heard Brett tell this story, I strongly encourage you to get him to tell the story, because it makes the hair on your arm stand up. It was like
under 10 yards too. It was super close.
I mean, it was damn near contact distance that he shot this thing at. So the 460 is it's an insane cartridge in what you can do with it. And it can be loaded hotter than, like, if you have 2 people doing like wildcat loads, right? Like you can wildcat a 4570 hotter. Yes. But you can get factory loaded 460 that is actually going to be hotter than a lot of factory loaded 4570. And when you build a gun with 460 in mind, like the Raging Hunter that we built specifically for it, like the original X frames, you can get a really, really capable gun that you can use for everything from a Cape Buffalo all the way down to a little itty bitty white-tailed deer with a 45 Colt round, and I think it's really cool. I have a 460 in my closet right now that when I go to Africa next year, I'm not taking any rifles. I'm going to take the 460 and I'm going to take the 44 mag. And the PH is going to look at me like I just stepped off of Mars.
Yeah, they will. Trust me.
Oh, yeah. They looked at me like that when I showed up with the 44 mag, and they're like, "You want to shoot a wildebeest with that?" I'm like, "Yeah, wouldn't this be rad?"
And in that 460, you can shoot 45, auto rim, 45 Cowboy Special, 45 Colt, 454,
rims,
and 460 out of the same gun. You might
rims dicey
results, but it'll come out.
Yeah, auto rims dicey. That's the only one I actually wouldn't recommend because the bullet diameter is slightly different, and it's jumping so much motherfucking freeboard before it gets to the forcing cone. That's the one where it's a little for me. But like, I've shot 45 Colts, I've shot 454 Casulos, I've shot the full power 460s out of it. And it is hilarious when you go from a 460 and like, if you really want to like mess with somebody, you give them once you're sure they're not going to double the gun. So I don't do it in the mean way to do it would be to give them like a 45 Colt, a 454, and then a 460. I do it in the reverse order. Once I'm sure they can actually hold on to it, and then they go boom, wow. And they give you that bip, and they're like, "What was that?" Like, "Oh, you do have a flinch." Okay.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is that blip load will punch both shoulders on a deer and exit.
Oh yeah.
So it's not like you really need the other stuff, anyways.
Yeah, because it's not like it's you could put friggin' 230 grain 45 Colt that's going 950 feet per second that would be unpleasant to shoot out of like a Colt single action or something like that in that gun, and you're just like,
yeah, it's nothing. Matt, I mean, part of what your original thing about 454 and why it was so popular, one, it was probably the first of the real big bores to get SAMI spec. And we know the industry is not going to chamber something that's not a SAMI spec round. Mm-hmm. And so that was the reason why when the 454 became SAMI'd, and then Ruger was the first one to jump on board with the Super Red Hawk, their double action gun. And so that all of a sudden allowed that cartridge to be accessible at a price point that was it was a gateway to get in. And I think Taurus jumped in on it actually pretty early too. And so that allowed that cartridge to really kind of take off and become the default big bore, bigger than 44 Magnum, that somebody didn't have to go try to source a custom gun and or hand load, because there was readily industry got behind it as far as ammunition availability. And so that really helped. And then I think the byproduct of that also, it did increase the popularity of the 45 Colt, because much like the 32 H&R has kind of dragged up because of 327 Federal, people realize, man, this subload is actually pretty good. And 45 Colt got a whole new breath of life because people were shooting them in 454s. And so, and then you had John Linebaugh doing his 5-shot guns and everything. But there's never been a SAMI specification for a
number 27. Yeah.
Plus 45. So the 454 was kind of the easy button. When I was on that trip, Bob Baker, who is the president of Freedom Arms, owner of Freedom Arms, he was there. And Bob's one of the most accomplished handgun hunters I know, and that's all he hunts with is 454s and stuff. And he killed everything, including Cape Buffalo, with the 454. And, as far as a true hunting round, I don't think the 454 can be equaled, because what it does do, it gives you a heavy bullet with velocity, which most of the big bores, there's a compromise. You can go, like with the 500 Linebaugh, for example, it's a super heavy bullet. You're talking 450 to 525 grain bullets, but you're maxing out about 1,200 feet per second, which honestly for most normal use is plenty. But if you really want to hunt at extended ranges and have more opportunities and flatten that trajectory, the 454 is shooting a 300 to 360 grain bullet at 15 to 1,600 feet per second. It really does that, and it does it in a package that, unlike the X-frame Smiths, you can actually carry around and and use on a belt or on a chest rig. So I think that's what the 454 is really. I kind of equivalent it to a 375 H&H in the rifle world.
Yeah,
it'll do anything, and it'll do it at a recoil level that most people can master if they're willing to put the time in. The 454 has a very brisk, fast recoil, but it's not going to hurt you like a full power 475 Linebaugh can, or one of the X frames that in the shorter, lightweight barrel type packages. So I do think the 454 is a good way to get in for somebody who's maybe thinking about this, because it's available. You've got options. Taurus makes some.
Oh, Jason died.
He said Taurus, and
I know.
That's what happens.
I'm deeply amused by the fact that he said Taurus and then his connection jammed.
Yeah.
No, but the Raging Hunters are great guns. The Super Red Hawk Rugers are great guns. The Freedom Arms, obviously, the Cadillacs and revolvers, and our Bisley single actions, even though they've been hard to get lately, but we're working on that. Those are a great gun. I mean, you're talking about a gun that's not super expensive, and they will shoot great, and you have the luxury of shooting 45 Colt in them all day. So,
one of the things that was brought up in the 45 Colt episode was how you were able to get lower pressures with shorter barrels and exceed the performance of a 44 mag.
Correct.
Is 454 doing the same thing as well?
The 454 runs at extremely high pressure. You're running about 65,000 PSI, which is like belted Magnum rifle cartridge stuff. So so when Dick Casole was originally working on this, the first guns that he was doing, he was taking Colt single action armies and putting hardened 5-shot cylinders in those guns and running them. And they were loading to some insane velocities. But the original concept was kind of coined the 45 Swift concept. And that concept is they were thinking at the time, let's take a 225 grain bullet and try to make 2,000 feet per second. That was kind of the original goal. And they realized real soon that that was not the proper way to do this, because those bullets have such low sectional density that they don't work on game. They come apart. They actually lose velocity very fast, much like low BC rifle bullets do compared to a 6.5 Creedmoor or something like that. So they shifted gears and started going heavier bullets. And at that time, there was no 300 grain 45 Colt bullets. So they were taking 45-70 bullets that are 4.58 diameter and swaging them down to 4.52 and making 45 Colt bullets out of 45-70 bullets. I mean, really fly by the seat of your pants type stuff. And so they worked through it and finally realized that those heavier bullets have so much more dwell time in the case that powder has time to build pressure. So they were noticing that they could get 1,600 feet per second out of a 300 grain bullet, and they were only getting about 1,800 feet per second out of a 200 grain bullet. So it was way more efficient to shoot the heavies, plus the bullets would actually perform downrange when you hit something. So it kind of shifted gears to that. And then when they ended up doing the 83 454, it was kind of game on at that point. And that really opened the door for all this other stuff with the 480 Ruger and, line ball. I think was in 85 is when Ross Seifert did the article on the first line ball gun, which was a Seville, which I've actually seen that gun. It's a pretty cool gun. And, and that really blew up the deal. It changed John Linebaug's life. I don't think he never not had gun orders that he couldn't fill from that time. And created quite the stir where a 44 Magnum now all of a sudden wasn't a big deal. And, the 480 Ruger, that, like John kind of alluded to earlier, really that cartridge, in my opinion, is the best of the big bores above 44 Magnum because it's shootable. It does it at reasonable pressures. And everybody I know who shoots 475 line balls basically shoots their loads are tailored to 480 Ruger velocities. And so now you can do it without having the longer case capacity. It's much more affordable to find ammunition and everything else. So that 400 grain bullet at 1,200 feet per second formula that almost all the 475 line ball guys use is out of the box 480 Ruger ballistics. And it works really, really well.
Except Shane John. He's all about the full tilt.
Except Jay. Yeah. The 475 line ball, you basically are getting about 1350 with that 400 grain bullet. But I'll tell you, and John will tell you, because I know he shoots them all, the difference between a 400 grainer at 1200 and 1350 is night and day. That extra 150 per second goes from being like, I can shoot this gun pretty much, as much as I want in an afternoon to about 2 cylinders and I got to put it down.
Yep.
And
you notice that extra 150 feet per second when you're shooting a friggin' 357. You go from, and this is one of the things people, when you talk about big, especially revolver cartridges and big bores, but also, even really any Magnum, is that kind of jump in velocity is like, it's the difference. I was shooting today. I had one of our 357 3-inch guns, and I was shooting the Hornady critical defense load out of it, right? Which is a really great 357 Magnum load, 135 grains at a nominal, I want to say 1,100 feet per second. So it's basically like a 9 mil plus P. And then I went over and shot a Federal 125 that's going, 1350 or something like that. And it went from hey, this has recoil, but I can manage it, to I'm firing a fucking flashbang in front of my face, and I would really like to not do this for more than a couple of rounds.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, 460 especially, and 454, quiet guns if nothing else. Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
357 mag is my least favorite revolver cartridge loaded to full tilt loads because it's so inefficient. Mm-hmm. And for instance, it's my favorite lever gun cartridge because you're getting all the efficiency and powder burn out of it. Whereas, like the load we did with High Desert, it's tailored to be pretty efficient out of a revolver. So when you start getting those extra 100, 150, 175 feet per second, you're blowing so much potential energy into the gun and out the barrel that you're not getting in velocity that it really becomes inefficient.
And I'll say this because I don't have a sponsor relationship with High Desert Cartridge, but if you're listening to this and you want a 357 Magnum load that is actually shootable out of your 357 Magnums, go get the 158 grain High Desert Cartridge XTP. That load is awesome. I was shooting that today out of this is live. I can't say what I was shooting it out of, but anyway, because
not a 692.
I think I know.
Bryan has the thing that I was shooting out of. Jason knows what I was shooting it out of, but it doesn't exist until next week. So, but it's awesome. You guys are gonna love it. But yeah, no, and it was just like I'm like, oh man, this is really pleasant to shoot. So, but 357 is not a big bore, but that is here. There was a question. There was a thing way back. Bryan, did you say is 41 Magnum a big bore?
Yeah,
was that you or Jason?
It was me.
There's Bryan.
I would say that 41 Magnum is a big bore because if you look at sort of the way that the internet thinks of big bore cartridges, they start with 10 mil. Like people think of 10, like regardless of whether or not 10 mil is a legitimate big bore cartridge, and that's a whole argument that you can have. The way the internet the way the consumer sort of defines a big bore cartridge is, would I take this as a backup gun if I was going grizzly hunting, right? Like I'm going to Alaska for a moose hunt or I'm going backpacking or whatever. What's the minimum gun I'm going to take? And 90% of the time that conversation starts with 10 mil or 44 Magnum if you're in the revolver world. So, yeah, I would say that 41 mag, because it is so ballistically similar to a properly SAMI spec 10 mil, is in fact a big bore.
I think it's a big bore. I think, and again, 41 Magnum has two different personalities too.
Mm-hmm. So does 10 mil.
You take a 200, your typical 210 grain, even the hunting load, which is about a 1350 feet per second velocity. That's great. But then you take a 265 hard cast load and run it at 1350, which one of the guys we hunted with did. And he shot everything in Africa with that 41 Magnum with that load and crushed it. And the good thing about the 41 Magnum, you do it without the recoil penalty. It's the one handgun cartridge where usually I call bullshit when people say, oh, these almost ballistically identical. This one has way less recoil. For whatever reason, the 41, and I've got several 41 Magnums and I've shot them a lot. That cartridge, for whatever reason, I can shoot all day long with the heaviest loads and it does not beat you up at all. It is a great gateway to large bore revolvers, but I wouldn't classify it as a wrist breaking type.
No,
it's in a whole different category than the stuff that John's got laying on his table over there.
No, but the 41, I think it comes down to cartridge efficiency, because when you load a longer bullet, you're bridging the chambers, the forcing cone, you're getting all the powder burn out of it. Whereas if you take that same weight of bullet and make it a bigger diameter, it's shorter. So you're getting less efficiency out of your powder charge. And to me, I'm with you. It's like the 230, 240 grain stuff, keeping that at like 12 to 1300 feet per second. I don't notice the recoil like if I take a 240 grain 44 mag and do the same thing.
Exactly.
And my other theory is the diameter of the bullet grabbing rifling is directly proportional to the amount of recoil you feel, because it's putting that much torque on the inside of the gun. Even though those lands are like 5 thousandths each side, it's like having a bigger diameter, more leverage over the actual gun. So
we found that, Bryan, when we did the testing on the 480 Ruger Bisley. Funny little story. So when we did that project, that was back in 2013. We think put them on the market in 14. But Ruger had did the test. The 454s came out first. They were done, and Ruger did all the testing and everything like that. When it came down, they sent about 600 rounds of ammo down, and we shot them and everything. Which at the time I was like, oh man, I don't know if I want to shoot this thing too much. But it really wasn't that bad. So about a month went by and I was like, hey guys, where's the 480? That's the one that really I'm excited about. And we got a lot of people asking about it, and they're like, man, I don't think we're going to do it. I'm like, well, we're going to do the 480. We got to do it. He's like, our T&E staff doesn't want to shoot the the endurance test. They said they're done. They had enough with the 454. And so he said, if you want this 480, you're going to have to do it. And I'm like, okay. Like, how bad that'd be? One day, I don't know, about 2 weeks later, one of the guys in the warehouse comes to me and says, hey, man, because we don't carry ammo. He says, are we in the ammo business now? And I was like, no. He goes, well, there's a big pallet of ammo in the back with your name on it. And I'm like, okay. So I go back there after lunch, and there's 6,000 rounds of 480 Ruger ammo with a little card in there from Mike Pfeiffer at Ruger that says, have fun. Hope the endurance test goes well. It's like,
hardest of possible passes.
Yeah. So we're all in now. So needless to say, we had a lot of fun at Lipsy shooting 480 Rugers for the next 2 months. But what we learned was that original gun was a 6.5-inch gun like John had. This is the 4 5/8-inch gun. And we've done these as well, which this is my favorite of the bunch. But what we found is these lighter weight, shorter barrel guns actually recoiled less than the 6.5-inch guns. And I think the reason why, and you take a 480 Ruger, I mean, this is a 400 grain projectile. This bullet has so much bearing surface that when it is going into that, when it is going through that barrel, I think the longer it stays in there, I think the more it's just torquing that gun in your hand. So as it's getting out of that barrel faster, I think it's creating a less of a recoil impulse. And we've got enough rounds through both of them to kind of have a valid opinion on that. But that's the only thing I could figure on was why that was the case. I don't think you notice it so much on the small bore stuff. But when you start talking 400, 425 grain bullets, that's a lot of lead going through there.
Yeah. With the back to the 41 discussion. So I have zero trigger time on 41 Magnums, but I had a phase where I was obsessed with the 10 mil GP100s. And I believe, so they still make the Match Champion and the widely clapped 3-inch, but there was a time I believe it was Ellipses exclusive. There was a 5-inch GP100 that was blued in 10 mil with wood grips. That gun was beautiful. That's one of the guns that when I sold it, because I needed to, like, I don't know, make a car payment or something, I regret getting rid of that gun. But that gun was the only platform where I've really ever been able to go all the way up to like your buffalo bore kind of like hot 10 mil loads. And like you really, really notice it in that 5-inch gun, but not like you would in a Glock 20, right? Like not like you would in some of the other, a buffalo board disintegrate a Glock 20, but it was such a good gun. And I regret getting rid of it now because I had it before I got bit by the handgun hunting bug, right? Like, because I look back on it now and I'm like, I want to go shoot a pig with that thing. Like there's so much that I wanted that I could have done with that gun that I was just like, dude, this is fun. And I shot, I don't know, maybe 1,000 rounds through it. I'm like, okay, well, we'll let this one go. So that is one that I definitely regret getting away. And I also wish that Ruger still made, and that the one used one I'm looking at on Gunbroker wasn't $1,500.
That's the way it happens, man. It's like they start to peter out and we say, okay, well, I guess we'll discontinue these. And then 6 months later, they're going for scalper prices.
Yeah, the 10 guys that didn't buy one because they thought they were available are all fighting for them on Gunbroker.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Dude, the scalper prices things, like one of my earliest big bore guns that I owned was, I was young and just buying guns because they were cool. And in 2007, 1937 Brazilian contract Smith & Wessons in 45 ACP were like $450. And I bought one of them and I was like, this gun's awesome. And I sold it a few years later because I was very young and very broke and needed the money for it. And now I look at a Brazilian contract gun on Gunbroker and it's, $1,200. I'm like, oh, I don't like this. I mean, that's mostly just inflation, right? Like $400 in 2007 is probably $1,200 now. I don't know. I'm not an economist.
The other one that we hadn't talked about yet, that like debt of gratitude to Magnum Research for the BFR. That's really the attainable way to get into these cartridges. And man, they are good guns, not just for the money. They're good guns.
They're good.
They're great guns. Yeah. That's good. That's a good comment, John. The BFR stuff is really probably the underrated hero of the big bore single. And they do, and the cool thing about them, they do some non-SAMI'd spec rounds. They do 500 JRH. You can buy a 500 line ball. You can buy a 475 line ball from them. So they're willing to do basically a production grade semi-custom gun in usually custom only cartridges, which is actually, that's a good comment, John. Yeah.
And they've got good rear sights on them, which are hard to come by now.
Yeah. Working on that, John. We're working on it.
I know.
I mean, we're going to get to a point where even with revolvers, where most things I think are going to be primarily set up for some kind of optical sight, right? Like when we switched from the Raging Bull pattern, which was a very cool looking vent rib barrel, to the Raging Hunter pattern, which is got a pick rail on it for that specific reason. And I think everyone else is kind of going to get to the point where it's like, you know what? More people want optics for these. There's so many quality optics. And as you know, I'm pretty sure I'm the youngest person here. Despite all of that, I feel some kind of way about putting a red dot on a single action revolver. I'm like, hang on, which is funny because I don't feel that way about a scope. Put a pistol scope on it. That seems reasonable. But I don't know. There's something about me that doesn't want to see an acro on a single action gun. And I couldn't, I couldn't explain that to you because the acro is the best fucking pistol optic out there, especially for wheel guns. But I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Well, I'll tell you, for optics on the real big bore guns, these ultra dots are pretty tough to do. This one here has held up to a lot of hard Ruger stuff. And most of the guys that we hunted with over there had these on them, and they were all shooting big bore stuff. That's one good thing about the Super Red Hawk system. It uses the scope rings set. So with a screwdriver, I can pop this off. I actually brought a 2-power Leupold with me in rings already pre-sighted in, so I could switch something out in case this went wonky. Or if I pull it off, my iron sights are still on the gun. So there's no plate.
Jason, did you do a handgun only Africa hunt?
Yes.
Yeah. You did the thing for your job that I'm literally planning to do just for fun.
Well, I did it. That was a cool thing. This was actually a personal trip. This was
really.
I did it for 2 years, and one of my teenage sons with me, and he laid waste a bunch of stuff with a 8 3/8 629. It was awesome. It was awesome. He killed a giraffe with this gun, with this 480 Ruger, and
that's crazy.
Yeah, he smoked it. But it's pretty much a box stock gun. I did have it magna ported, and it really didn't need it. But I was talking to Tank Hoover, which is a mutual friend of most of us, and he convinced me to do it because when I was really training hard for this hunt, I was trying. Range time is just like everybody. It's hard to get out there, and especially if you're shooting this stuff, you can't really go into an indoor range, go bang away at 25 yards. So I had to go out to my camp or something like that. And so I wanted to be able to really spend a lot of time shooting. So this Magnaport job really knocked the recoil of this gun down to about a 41 Magnum. So it was super comfortable shooting. I was shooting 410 grain hard cast through it. So,
well, that's been the huge benefit for me for porting because, I have a competition shooting background, right? Like a range session for me, it start like 150 rounds is like a light day training for a match, training for something like that, right? And John's familiar with those kind of round counts. It's like, we're training for, for matches, for shooting people, for stuff like that. We're out there getting knee deep in brass. And I start shooting these big bore guns seriously. Because of who I am as a person, when I found out I was going to Africa, I'm like, okay, I'm going to take these guns that I'm taking with me to Africa and I'm going to train with them like I would with a match. And a box of 20 44 Magnums. I was like, oh, we're good. We're set. We're going to put this gun down for a while and I'm going to go shoot my Pleasant gun, which was the 308 bolt gun by comparison. And it's not that 44 Magnum has particularly punishing recoil, but I will say the load that I like a lot, the 225 grain Barnes loaded by Federal as their Barnes expander. Barnes also loads it to the exact same muzzle velocity. The only difference I can tell is that the Barnes load is in brass cases and the Federal loads in nickel cases.
Yep, it is. That's the only difference. Yeah.
Cool. Buy the Barnes load, guys. It's like $2 cheaper a box, and that $2 makes a difference. But that, for whatever reason, that load out of the Raging Hunter has a muzzle blast and crack that even on an outdoor range feels kind of abusive, especially after 20, 40 rounds. I shot 18 rounds of it today, and I was like, okay, we're good. All of that in double action is a lot. I'm starting to flinch. I should probably put that gun away.
Yeah, not all powders are created equal. Different pressures to get to that velocity.
Oh, yeah.
Is probably something sharp.
That was a good ass screw. Thanks for putting that up there, Matt. That was
That's great, man. Double action. That's awesome.
You want to see?
I was cheating. I had it on sticks, so it's not like I was cheating that unsupported. I had it on Safari sticks, but still.
That's all right.
Fair enough.
All right, I'm gonna give you a hack for extending your shooting sessions. If you're gonna get like a Ruger Bisley or something like that, get a 327 Federal version of whatever gun you're going to do, because a 327 Federal Magnums drops and everything are very similar to like a 454 Casull or other rounds. So you can get that same trajectory, deal. You still got, it's not like shooting a 22 where you start shooting 22, you just tend to sometimes get a little sloppy on the range because there is no recoil to worry about and everything else. But a 327 Federal Magnum loaded in one of these guns is a great trainer to a 454 Casull or a heavy 44 Magnum or a fast 41 Magnum without the recoil penalty. So that's just a little hack if you want to extend
I like that.
Yeah.
My favorite big bore handgun is this custom single 6 with a full size Bisley grip frame and the same sights I have on my hunting gun.
It looks tiny.
Get your reps in with a 22 or a 32. I mean, build a 22. Bobby Tyler built this one. I think Dusty actually built it at Tyler Gun Works. And it's the same sights I have on the guns that I hunt with. The weight's different, but to just get a sight picture and get reps in with the same grip, there's no comparison. Get a 22.
What I've thought about doing, and because of for the people who don't know, I don't think I actually mentioned this at the top of the show. I work for Taurus. Anyway,
wait, you work for Taurus?
I know, right? It's a cool ass shirt. What I've actually thought about doing is getting a Raging Hunter in 357 and running 38s or something out of that. Although with the 44, I have had a lot of really good success with being like, you know what? I want to extend this range session. I'm going to go ahead and grab me 44 specials, because at, nominal handgun distances, if I'm running the two loads that I found were roughly ballistically matched. So the 225 grain Barnes that I really, really like has as good enough for practice sessions, the same POI, point of aim, point of impact, as the 180 grain PMC special load, which is like a mouse fart out of that gun compared to, the Full House 44 Magnum.
Sure.
Well, Jason, you mentioned a name, and I would just encourage people. Now, he's my text buddy with load data, but Jeff Tank Hoover, as far as gun writers go right now, he is keeping the casting and hand loading for the masses alive. Whereas, there's a lot of great gun writers out there, but I think Jeff or Tank is doing a great job of, publishing these articles in American Handgunner that kind of harken back to the Skeeter and Elmer. Oh, I used, this bullet mold and this powder,
And he's a good storyteller while he's doing it too.
Yeah,
fantastic storyteller. And, it was funny, BE86 powder, because I like Horde Unique. I ended up with a couple of pounds of it. I was like, Jeff, dude, I need something to do with this. This is like a month ago. He says, man, I don't know. I haven't really worked with it. Like 3 weeks later, an article is in Handgunner all about BE86 powder and big bore guns. So he's a fantastic resource. A lot of his stuff is open source if you don't want to buy a subscription to Handgunner guns. But he's got a lot of online articles. And he has become one of my good buddies just because we nerd out over load data and bullet casting compositions and stuff like, vintage bullet molds and things like that. So thanks, Jeff.
Indeed.
Question just came up, and it's along the lines of the topic. Is a huge difference between the 460 and 500 in performance that justify the 500 in a practical sense?
The 460 outperforms the 500.
Yeah.
A little more versatile too.
The 460 is the practical choice. The 500 is the show-off choice.
Yeah. I was going to say the best reason to buy a 500 is to tell people that you have a 500. Right. Like, what was the bit in British movie? Anyway, he goes, mine says Desert Eagle .50.
Oh, yeah. Snatch. Great movie.
Thank you.
Oh.
Yeah, Snatch. That's the same reason you buy a 500.
Tony.
Yeah, that's the same reason you buy a 500. It's not because it gives you a measurable ballistic performance over anything else on the market. It's because it is the largest in diameter commercially produced handgun caliber in the world. That's also half of the reason why you buy a 460 is to say it's the most powerful commercial handgun caliber in the world. So,
when Smith & Wesson launched that stuff, that was the whole thing. They launched a 500 first as a vanity play. We wanted to have the biggest. We wanted to make something nobody could beat us on, and 500 would do it. And then they had it for about a year or two. Then they realized this isn't very practical. And everybody said, well, if you did that in a 45 caliber, you could actually hunt with it and actually shoot it and everything else. And that's why. And then the reasoning came back into the equation on that. But
it's a good cartridge. It's great in the lever gun.
Yeah. The big
Speaking
ones.
of that, all I want's a 357 max lever gun. That's all I want.
Do you guys remember the
357
NEF?
Max? A different one though.
Do you guys remember the NEF handy rifle?
Oh yeah.
And they did one in 500 mag.
Mm-hmm.
That thing. So we have on our Rossi line, we have the LWC, which is the NEF reincarnated, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have one in 44 mag in my closet, which I put an aim point on, which costs double the price of the rifle.
Yeah.
John, why does that make people mad when I don't understand why putting a good optic on a gun that I plan on shooting at living things makes people mad when the optic costs more than the gun.
That's like trying to convince people that they shouldn't buy a Gunworks gun. Nothing against Gunworks, beautiful guns, they're great. If you're an oil tycoon and you want to get a ready-to-go package, go shoot a sheep. You paid $400,000 for it in auction. Love it. Man, go buy whatever. Go buy a Ruger American and Swarovski binoculars because you can't shoot what you can't see. Spend money on glass, you cheap bastards.
Right?
Yeah.
Your NEF, I broke serial number 001.
Dude,
I had the distinction of breaking that gun.
Wait,
When
the
they put it
500
out
Magnum or the OG?
Yes. The OG 500 mag, when they brought it, a friend of mine was handling the marketing for that company back when the big marketing conglomerates were around.
When they still existed?
Yeah. He brings the first one, and we shot that 500 grain hard cast. I threw it up on my shoulder, and round number one, boom. And then I go to reload, and it had sheared the action pin, and it fell apart right there on the range. I was like, well, at least they're cheap.
Yep. Didn't harden that action pin, I bet.
I'll get you.
Yeah,
You guys remember when
after that
Remington, when they first came out with 300 Blackout?
Mm-hmm.
They came out with all kinds of weird guns for it. You could get the Model 7, then they did a 700, and then they did that handy rifle and 300 Blackout.
Mm-hmm.
I hate 300 Blackout. That's a topic for another podcast that I have no interest in being on because 300 Blackout's not worth 2 hours of my time.
What about in a revolver?
It's a replacement for an MP5 SD, people. Trying to explain to people that it shoots the same bullet as my 308. Let me hit you with a car going 5 miles an hour and one going 40 and see which one you like more. Anyhow, 300 Blackout sucks. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk, unless you're replacing an MP5 SD, which is why it was designed. That handy rifle and 300 Blackout was awesome.
Those were cool.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to buy the modern version of the handy rifle, blackout, head to RossiUSA.com and click on the links to go purchase it from our partners at Gunbroker and Guns.com.
We're not selling stuff.
guns.
They are. We're just pointing in the right direction.
That's right. That's
Did
right.
you all do that one? Do you all do that one in 460, Caleb?
No. So hang on. So obviously, a lot of you guys have met or have interacted with Brett, and Brett and I have had the discussion about how, like, one of the cool things about working for the Brazilians is they will occasionally like to throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks, right? Which is how we ended up with the Judge, which, regardless of how you feel about the Judge, led to a tremendous innovation in 410 cartridge development and a lot of people buying 45 Colt ammo that had never bought 45 Colt ammo before. And that was throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, right? And sometimes you get a commercial success and sometimes you get the curve. And that's the cost of doing business, and I'm okay with that. And one of the spaghetti at the wall ideas that Brett and I have both had that we really are trying to like bully Brazil into making is a Rossi LWC 460 double rifle. Like, it's crazy.
I'd be happy with it.
It's crazy, but
With a single
also
rifle.
we could very easily do a single rifle because we've got it. So we have the LWC right now in 45 Colts. We have it in traditional rifle cartridges, so 5.56, 300 black. We have one in development in 8.6, but the barrels are problematic because 8.6 is like. 8.6 is like my second wife, right? Like, it's really hot, but it's a fucking bag full of crazy cats.
I can relate.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. My second wife was a ginger, so that should tell you about my smart choices.
Right.
But anyway, no, but like, I would love to see. Honestly, like the LWC, I think we should do one in 500, do one in 460, do one in all these crazy, high pressure pistol cartridges, just because when you stick a 500 or especially a 460, when you stick a 460 in a long gun, you get a rifle cartridge. You get a 2,300 feet per second rifle cartridge that's pushing a 250 grain bullet at that kind of crazy velocity.
You can go higher, heavier than that. We did we did Ruger number ones in 460, and they were awesome. They were fantastic. And the beautiful thing about it is you had that ability to drive a 300 grain bullet at pushing, that 2,000 feet per second, which is basically heavy 45-70, or throw a 45 Colt cowboy load in that gun.
And then he goes,
yeah, that was a beautiful thing. And all the states where the straight wall cases for hunting was a deal. Man, those guns got sucked up to Michigan and all those other states because they loved it.
Speaking of straight wall
I want one in
cartridges,
single shot that's threaded in 460, so I can put my dead air primal on the end of it and drop a 45 Colt in it, and then knock.
Shoot it in your house?
Yeah, why
Top
not?
end of an encore. You could do an encore.
Maybe we could. Hey, Brian. Maybe we could do a number one style like that rifle you saw the other day.
Ooh.
Oh.
But putting a can on a gun now, like especially that XVR, man, the crack of that round is brutal out of most revolvers. But if you contained it in a single shot and had a decent can on it on a maybe a 10-inch barrel that was SBR'd, that would kind of be sexy.
The good thing about a Ruger number one, if you put a 16-inch barrel in there, since there's no receiver or no action, no magazine, it's like having a 12-inch barrel bolt gun.
Oh,
I've got a 75 line ball number one, and it's the handiest little gun.
Yeah, and it hammers stuff.
Yeah.
And I like the number one action. I'm a fan just because, like that Hornet is a 20-inch barrel, and that thing carries like a 16-inch.
Yeah.
This short.
There you go.
Handy
Yeah.
rifle.
This is the 16-inch LWC, right? And it is shorter than my. I think it is shorter than a couple of my 5.56 AR-15s that are SBRs, and it's just such a handy, compact gun. And I think that you go up you go up to like 460 or 500 or something on that, and that becomes incredibly potent as a hunting gun, as a big game gun, a bunch of other stuff. I wanted to backtrack to the straight wall thing because it reminded me of something. Because the 350 Legend, so Smith has a X frame and 350 Legend, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know it starts with a 3. But is that a big bore? Like, where do we fall on like that sort of because like if you put a 45-70 in a handgun like they've done with the Magnum Research, guns, that's a big bore, no questions asked.
Yeah.
But like, where do we fall on like the 357 in a wheel gun as a big bore?
So in my opinion, all they did was recreate the 357 Max. That's all that is, which is a extended range medium bore. In my opinion, it's a way to apply a 357 Magnum out to 150 yards instead of 75 yards. As far as hitting big animals, like I wouldn't necessarily want to take that and shoot wildebeest and Cape buffalo in Africa with it, like I would with a 480. That's my opinion and take on it. It's still at the end of the day, it's still a 35 caliber projectile.
It's a great deer cartridge,
Oh, for deer, yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Middle America whitetail deer for sure. But for me, it's a hot rodded 357, and I love 357 Max, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say, didn't you say you wanted a 357 Max wheel gun? Get a 350
lever
Legend,
gun,
lever gun.
Yeah.
Get a 350 Legend lever gun.
I got a bunch of 357 Max brass though. Yeah.
When are we going to come out with 41 maximum?
Well, there was that the 414. John, remember Dan Wesson had that back in the 80s.
Yep, they had 414, 445.
Yeah,
and then Ronnie Wells thought 445 wasn't powerful enough, so he did 44 Ronnie Stupid, which is an extended Dan Wesson Super Mag.
Yeah,
Dan Wesson 414 Super Mag. Okay, hang on, I'm learning something now because I did not know that this existed.
Yeah, it was a flash. It was heavy. It got popular during the silhouette craze in the 80s. Everybody was shooting rams at 200 meters with revolvers. And,
the reason I need a lever gun in 357 Max is because you never keep handguns in 357 Max. You turn them into 500 and 475 maximums, which the most obnoxious handgun cartridge on earth undoubtedly is the 475 line ball maximum.
It's ridiculous.
Well, if you don't have, there's many different versions of the Bible, the original, the King James version, and Hamilton Bowen's custom revolver book. That's the third version. Everybody should check that out. There is a picture of him shooting a full power 475 line ball max, and it is right here in full recoil.
So that's a 1.6 inch length case, isn't it?
It is. Yep.
1.4.
Yep.
Can I that full recoil? Can I do my as a trainer, also someone who has lawyers on staff and all of that? I'm going to do my pause for liability. So if you like big bore revolvers, like the friggin' 460 Taurus that I have here, or any of these, and you are the sort of person who thinks it's funny to give a giant fuck off mega caliber Magnum revolver to a new or inexperienced neophyte shooter, one, I don't like you, just right off the rip. Like, that's not cool, man. But two, if you feel the compulsion to do this, put one bullet in the gun. Okay? Because people have died from a thing called doubling, where they pull the trigger on a large frame double action revolver that has more than one round in it. It goes off and the recoil is so insane that it blows their grip apart. They lose their grip on the gun. The gun recoils to a point where the muzzle is now pointed back at their face, head, or whatever. But all of this happens in about the same time that it takes your monkey brain to go, I'm dropping the gun. I need to clench it with all my might. And that clinch reflex causes them to now, with the gun pointed at their face, clench down super tight and pull the trigger and kill themselves, which has happened at least 3 times that I am aware of. So, again, it's my PSA. First off, if you're the sort of person that thinks that's fucking funny, fuck you. I don't like you. And I am perfectly comfortable saying that as a major brand rep with my whole chest. Okay? That's not cool. No one thinks that's funny. If you absolutely have to show your new friend who's never shot a gun before how powerful your whatever is, 1 round. 1 round. That's it. Or a single action revolver, because you can't double a single action revolver, all right? But if you've got a Raging Hunter or an X-Frame or any of those things, man, be cool. Don't be a dick. Because also I guarantee that that person that you gave that, 460 to, that, blasted it and really did enjoy the recoil, they're never going to do again? Touch a gun.
Yeah.
You've ruined them. Sorry, that is one of my. I apologize for the slight derailment. That was one of my hot button issues that just every time somebody sends me an Instagram reel or a YouTube video of this person can't control the recoil, I'm like, that woman is 5'1" and weighs 80 pounds soaking wet, and some dickhead gave her a 500 Magnum. Of course, she can't control the recoil.
Well, that's a good segue, Caleb, on, you got to shoot these guns differently than you do your Glock 19.
Yes.
I remember when we did the launch video on the Bisley 480s and 454s, somebody, not that I ever read the comments, but somebody in the YouTube comments was like, well, that guy, he doesn't know how to lock out and he's letting that recoil get the best of him. Like, dude, you just ride it. You
go ahead, buddy.
Let
Go ahead.
go.
Come show me.
Yeah, you lock your wrist out and your elbows like you're shooting a Glock 19. You'll shoot about a cylinder's worth, and then your tennis elbow starts flaring up on you. You've got to let these guns recoil. You've got to let them come over your shoulder like this. Really, I tend to shoot a little more bladed just to kind of get that action like this to get them. So they don't hit you in the face, but you got to ride the recoil. You can't sit there and shoot locked out, and it looks like you're letting the gun recoil way exaggerated. It's not for the video for effect. It's so you can shoot these guns all day that way, and because these guns can get away from you pretty quick. And like John was talking about, you start getting into the line balls, and heaven forbid you got a line ball max. Man, you can get hurt quick. I remember John Taffin told us that when man's got had more rounds through big bores than anybody I know.
Yeah.
And he said the line ball longs would actually make him physically ill to shoot. I mean, he could shoot about a cylinder worth, and then he'd be done for the day. He'd go lay down. That was all.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Well, people who know me know that I hold my revolvers weird, right? Like I use a thumbs forward grip on my support grip, very similar to how I would hold a semi-automatic pistol. And I'll even do that on this 460 shooting full house 460 loads because I have 10 inches of barrel and a compensator that is enormous on this gun, right? I was on the range the other day and I was running a 2.5-inch L frame sized 44 Magnum, and my stupid ass put a cylinder full of the Federal Hydra shocks in there. I did not know how hot those things were loaded, the Hydroshock 44 Magnums. And I get that thing out there in my standard thumbs forward grip, and I've got a great grip on this gun. I crack that first round double action. My grip disintegrates. The gun rotates up to here, and I'm like, we're not doing that anymore. And I immediately rotate my thumbs, and I lock my thumbs down over the top of the gun. And it's still the remaining 4 rounds in that gun. I got through those and I was like, and we're done shooting that round out of this gun for the rest of all time, because that sucked ass. And what people need to understand is that with revolvers, and this is, this goes into like the performance revolver shooting thing. It's not like shooting a 1911 or a Glock 19 or anything like that. Like I'll run basically the same grip on a Glock 21 that I would on a Glock 19, right? Like, sure, the 21's got more power, or even a Glock 20 shooting 10 mil. I'm going to run basically the same grip. With revolvers, I am going to adapt my grip to the gun, the grip shape, the fucking load that I'm shooting. I shoot a J-frame in 357 way different than I shoot a J-frame in 22, even though they're the same size gun. Same as I shoot my 460 way different than I would shoot a smaller 44 or something like that. And what people who come from like the Glock 19 background to revolvers think is that it's one size fits all, because it's largely one size fits all with semi-autos, and it's not over here. Like, I do shit differently depending on my application, what I'm trying to do with the gun, what size gun I'm carrying, and all kinds of other stuff.
Well, quick plug. If you're coming to Pat Rogers, if you're coming to the Pat Rogers Memorial Revolver Roundup, I've got 2 Glocks, one with Caleb and one with Lou Gosnell. And Caleb and I are doing big bore double actions.
This is going to be there, guys. I'm going to bring this thing, and I'm going to bring some full chat 460 loads, because I will say this gun is fun to run on the edge.
But we're going to do that. Caleb and I will be doing big bore double actions. So basically, I'll be bringing a swath of big bore Smiths, and then with Lou Gosnell, we're doing big bore single actions. So, and it's all about, like Caleb was talking about, different styles of grips on the same gun are designed to be held different ways. And my favorite, most recent example is Bobby Tyler's bear hug stocks. Guys shoot those and they think, oh, well, I can't hold on to the gun. Well, it's not made for shooting fast. It's made to make that recoil kind of mimic a single action, to kind of roll in your hand and slough off some of that heavy recoil when you're shooting a pretty booming 44 or 45 Colt. So that's kind of going to be we hadn't even announced that yet, Caleb. So there you go. So
Tell
you saw it on primary and secondary first.
Yeah. So as FYI, at the Pat Rogers Memorial Roundup in Gunsight, I will be teaching big bore starts with 4 with Bryan one day, and then the next day I'm going to be teaching red dot revolver with Eric. So and interestingly, I'm going to use the same gun for a lot of it. I'm going to bring my 44 mag and shoot specials out of it. So.
And we are back.
Made it.
Yes.
Good times.
I do have to say something that Jason said earlier. The Ruger #1, when you get one with like the Mannlicher stock, is just such an achingly pretty gun to look at. Like, that's one of those. Jeff. So obviously, when I was a kid, I read the Gunsight gossip columns in the back of Guns and Ammo religiously. Right, like that was, I would get my Guns and Ammo and turn straight to the back to read Jeff Cooper's column. And I forget what gun he was talking about, but he said, I think it was like he had been to SHOT Show, and he was talking, and he went by the Perazzi booth, and he was talking about $100,000 shotguns, in 1990, whatever, right? And he's like, and I remember the quote. He said, "I don't have a use for it, but I'm glad to be in a world where it exists." And I do have a use for the Ruger #1, but I think about guns like that a lot, where like I, as just a guy who goes to Africa occasionally, I don't have a use for an African double rifle, but man, I'm glad I live in a world where that sort of thing exists, right? Because those things are really beautiful and they're really cool.
I had no use for a #1, no use for 22 Hornet, and no use for an International or Mannlicher stock. And one day, get on the Lipsy's website, and I see a 22 Hornet #1 with a Mannlicher stock, and I immediately called Jason. I was like, "Hey man, my 45th birthday's coming up, and that is the only gun that I own that when I took it out of the box on our bar, my wife looked at it. And she goes, "Oh my God, that is a beautiful gun." And
it's a pretty
every other
gun.
one. Oh yeah, and I said, you can call this one pretty. None of the other ones can be pretty. They can, they can be cool or gorgeous, but and the new stuff that Lipsy's is getting. Oh my God, the wood grade on them is fantastic.
Yeah. Side note, also for the people that are listening, like obviously everybody on this call, we're all industry insiders, but y'all need to put some respect on Lipsy's name, because Jason is out here doing the Lord's work, getting weirdo ass guns for the degenerate population because he's like, we'll buy 500 of them. We'll buy, he'll go to the manufacturer. So we're like, hey, how many of these do you need me to buy to make this thing happen? And he goes out there and he gets them. And then what's cool is they do the product education to their reps to actually get their reps to sell them into stores, right? Like they're not just being like, we're buying these guns because Jason wants to, but they're like actually like they're doing degenerate guns for the people. And if you don't fuck with that, then I don't fuck with you. Like that's really cool. And you guys don't understand how our industry is so biased towards making the thing that sells. You know, I mean, John, you know this probably better than anyone.
Oh, he has no idea. What are you talking about? Magbolt? No.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like you make the thing that sells, and if you're lucky, you work for a company that makes enough of the thing that sells so they can also make the cool thing.
Make the cool things. Yeah. We talked about that on the 45 Colt episode. Jason wasn't here. He was in Africa at the time, but we were like, you all owe him a debt of gratitude because if he was obsessed with Glocks, then we wouldn't have all this cool stuff. So,
Thank God.
We'd have yet another ported, compensated Glock with a magwell, and
But the stippling pattern's different though.
That's right.
yeah.
And like, look,
Or whoever's AR, right? Guys will walk up to you at a trade show. Look at my AR-15. We make the best hard use AR-15. You don't make shit on there.
Right.
yeah,
Barrel to ballistic advantage. You get receivers on a variant, and someone else churns out the same handguard everybody else uses.
Yeah.
You
I
can
appreciate
maybe right, maybe wrong. Who knows?
Daryl and I just made a little pirate run to Baton Rouge. There's content forthcoming on that. And every time I'm down there, I will see something that I didn't know I needed.
right.
It's expensive, but at the same time, it's like, oh man, if I were to go try to source a vintage one, and there's stuff we can't talk about, but still,
I was in the middle. Okay, so I did mention in the show that I'm a part-time Air Force guy. So I was deployed. I'm in the Middle East. I am running the counter drone shop for the largest Air Force base in the Middle East, right? I am busy as shit. And I happen to be glancing at my normie email, and I see that Lipsy's was doing the Taffin Perfect Packing 6 gun. How fat I emailed Jason so fast that you must have thought I was in a fucking time warp. I was like, just hold one of these for me. I don't care how long it takes to get them. Just whenever it's ready, you send me a text, whatever it costs. I don't care. I need one of those.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, that's a fun thing. I mean, and I think that's what I call big gun industry doesn't realize is that all these little niches out there and these enthusiast sections of the industry are so underserved. And it's not hard, guys. I mean, I was fortunate enough that I grew up, I'm 50 now, but I grew up reading my dad's gun magazines from the 70s and 80s, and everything was blued, half lug 357 Magnums and 44 specials. And that was your choice. If you wanted an auto pistol, it was a 1911 or a high power. I mean, that was basically your choice. And so,
how far we've fallen.
I know. It was. I still have a bunch of those magazines, and I'll flip through them all the time. And I was like, oh my god, people would lose their minds if they could get this stuff today. And back then, that was just everyday stuff. And and it's not hard. All you got to do is look and see what are people willing to buy at retail, send off to a custom maker for Lord knows how long, to come up to a couple years at times, and pay twice as much as what they pay for the gun to have it converted to this, and then come back. If you can just get that from a factory offering, even if it's not every little custom touch, if it's 85% there, that's a win. I mean, you can't lose with that formula. And fortunately, we've got people that that understand that and are willing to support my of degeneracy going after. We laugh at the office all the time. In 2008, which was the height of the Obama AR-15 craze. I mean, the whole industry was losing its mind on high capacity ARs and Glocks. And I go to my bosses and say, I want to do a flat top 44 special. single action. I'm like, are you fucking out of your mind? I mean, it's like, no way. And I'm like, I'm telling you, it's going to sell. And finally, after a while, they were like, okay, I mean, if you think so, and Ruger agreed, said, okay, if you're willing to float the check, we'll do them. And it was one of the hottest guns of the year that year. I mean, we sold thousands of them, and it really created that us as being kind of the go-to for that esoteric, weird stuff that the guys like us are going to want to buy. You know? So it's been a good.
And I can say this, talking to the actual sales piece of it. So, so for people who don't know, it's not a good year to be selling guns. Everything's down for many, many complex economic reasons. But the revolver sector, so if everything is down X percent, like if the market as a whole is down X percent, there's two sectors, the revolver and the lever action sector, that while they are still down, they're down less than the general average for the market at large, right? Like ARs, 9mm striker fired, 9mm polymer frame striker fired semi-automatics, those are down very, very badly. Revolvers and lever actions are still holding out. And I maintain this theory that I've said on multiple times is correct, is that even when the economy's bad, even when people are concerned about, X, Y, and Z, we like buying guns. But we all have 5 AR-15s and 5 polymer frame 9mm strike fired semi-automatic pistols. And so when you go into the gun store and you're like, well, I want to buy something new, and you see a shiny revolver in there, you go, I don't have a shiny revolver. I need a shiny revolver. And you get the shiny revolver, or you get the shiny lever action because you watched The Rifleman with your dad growing up, Yeah. So I do think that there's an inherent resiliency in those segments that maybe the big industry at large doesn't understand. I will say I think that Taurus as a brand, we do understand it, and we have leaned in harder in the revolver market in this, in these trying times. Buy a Taurus revolver. But, it is interesting, and I think that I completely lost my train of thought after the in these trying times bit. But yeah, go buy a revolver. I honestly I'll say this. I don't even I want you to buy a Taurus revolver? Yes. But if you don't own a revolver and you're like, I'm going to go get my first revolver, and you get a Smith or a Ruger or a Colt or a Taurus, I don't care. Just get one and be like, oh, I like this. Because what happens is you go get the first one, and then you're like, I like this. And then the next thing you know, you're on Gunbroker looking for, registered magnums at 2 a.m, being like,
or Smith & Wesson 10-8, Brian.
$10 10-8s, which I will say I accidentally.
Oh, you and your 10-8s.
I sold more of those in 1 year than had sold the previous 10 years prior. To the point now that people hit my dad's shop all the time, like his web analytics, and I get messages, hey, if y'all come across a 10-8, man, let me know. But my dad's shop, so from the time I was 7 until I was about 10, he had a brick and mortar retail shop while he worked graveyards as a cop, and then his shop opened at 10 a.m. So he got up at 7, and from 10 to 5 every day, or 10 to 6, his shop was open. And I used to get the Lou Horton catalogs. And now that Lou Horton is gone, there is Lipsies, right? And they were kind of, I wouldn't say they were the first, but the Horton guns were like the first big volume. I mean, you had Dayton guns back in the day with the Hanen Special and things like that. And some special off catalog orders with different companies. But, Lou Horton was looking at, it's kind of like Jason does, Javino and Baylor, and they're cutting these, 45 ACP, 45 Colt revolvers down and 44 mags and all this stuff. And then they would get the factory to do a solid A- B+ homage to that. And we covet those guns now. So
Type
now
in Gunbreaker.
Lipsy's is filling that
There's a
void.
10-8 on Gunbreaker for $400 right now, and I'm not kidding when I tell you I am like this close to putting it in my cart.
Hey, Caleb, I have it on authority that rngfirearms.net has a batch en route. So
All right.
that may have lineage to New York law enforcement.
All right,
So
I'll wait for one of those
Pump
then.
the brakes. I'll text.
Insider trading going on here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Hey, you know what? It's not illegal when it's just guns,
That's right.
or if you're a congressman.
But
I've got a Lou Horton 624 that Nelson Ford worked over that, like, I didn't think it was that special. And I got on Gunbroker not too long ago and saw it. Anything that says Lou Horton is going for,
Oh, God.
brutal.
Well, and you know, I know the guy, Bob Coyle, who was at Lou Horton at the time, who later became the head of Talo. And Bob's a really good friend of mine. And, you know, Bob, he was smart because back then, you know, Hortons, they really were heavy on that in the 80s and the 90s. But they were smart in that they were tied in to the Smith & Wesson Collectors Association and all these type of things that helped get the word out. And that was always a problem, you know, pre-social media, pre-YouTube being really a big deal. When we do a special project, man, if you had a few hundred pieces, you were excited because it was hard to get the info out because you couldn't go have this huge marketing budget to tell about this 200-piece gun run because, you know, the gun magazine ad would cost you $20,000. Well, that was all the profit in that project. So you couldn't even do that. But now it's so easy to get the word out. And if you've got a good, you know, if you do good videos and you got good friends in the industry like Brian and Daryl that they help spread the word, you know, you can now it can be a 3,000 piece run of something and people actually know about it and go buy it. But Lou Hortons did a great job of helping get the information the best they could out at the time. So people knew about it. And that's why, you know, probably the Daytons and the Hansons and the Wolf and Clars and all that stuff back in the day, unless you were local to that area, you didn't even know that really existed and just happenstance happened to buy one. But yeah.
yeah, Lou Horton would publish these like black and white flyers. And if you had a fax machine back in the day, like it seemed like it was on Tuesdays or something, your fax machine at like 8 a.m. would spit out a flyer and, you know, you'd look at all the, you know, dealer information only. And they would kind of publish like what their projects or what they had in stock and stuff. And then you had to call and like wait on hold for 2 hours while you're trying to order 2 guns. It was highly inefficient, but really neat. And now like the LCR 32 project that we did with Lipsy's, I on our website behind the wall, there's a chat room where guys can post pictures of guns and ask questions and things like that. And I'm relatively certain that the AFR subscribers probably bought the first 500 of those that hit the street. It was overwhelming. And you know, we really cater to like the super consumer in the revolver world that they're going to buy 5 or 10 revolvers a year, no matter what it is, whether it's used guns, new guns. So that's been really interesting to kind of track that data and see, hey, you know, we did a video on this brand new release, and then I can get on the Lipsy site and watch them go out of stock. And it's like, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun and really kind of overwhelming the number of people that when they joined the site, they had one revolver. And now they're like, okay, so I got a 10.5, a 10.6, a 10.7, a 10.8. What other ones do I need? You know, it's like, oh, now you got to find the 3-inch versions and the snubs. And I mean, so it's cool from a collector standpoint. But the one thing I'm seeing right now, revolver worldwide, is the vintage guns. People are starting to, like, even myself, like, oh, I don't want to shoot those a whole lot. I love collecting them. I love having them. Occasionally shoot them, but the value proposition there, they've increased so much that now that we've got a modern alternative, you know, with like I'll just use Smith & Wesson for an example. You know, vintage mountain guns were bringing serious premiums. And now with the modern alternative, it's like, oh, I got one with a warranty. It's got some cool stocks. It's got a cool front sight. And I can actually go out and really shoot this gun and not worry about if the hammer spur breaks off or something goes weird with it, that it can't be repaired, or I got to spend months tracking parts down. So,
well, the mountain gun really kind of proves Caleb's remarks earlier. And we launched those at SHOT Show. We didn't start, I think, getting them in until maybe March or something like that. So we've effectively been selling them for say 6 months, and they're still on allocation. In a market, especially over this summer, that has been actually brutal, especially for a lot of people who strictly are in the AR and pistol world. That gun is still, we've put over 3,000 mountain guns on the market so far, and they're out of stock and have dealers lined up and they're allocated with our sales reps. There's no other gun that we launched at SHOT Show that's remotely close to still being on allocation. And it's not because we haven't had them either. I mean, you start putting that amount of large bore revolvers on the market, usually that sucks down pretty fast. And so it shows that there is a market for it. But in the revolver world, you got to execute correctly. You can't, and that's where a lot of people, I think, kind of dabbled in it, and then they didn't do it quite right, because the guys like Jon Canipe, when he goes about a revolver, he's looking at a certain things, and if they don't get this certain stuff right, he's out. He's not gonna dive in. And so it helps to have people that actually use these guns on a daily basis and actually carry them and actually hunt with them, and not just look at them on the wall. And my 480's been riding in this Barranti rig. I mean, you can tell it's beat up because I actually carry this gun in the woods constantly. And so that helps get the right feature set, the stuff that people appreciate, and try to find all the little details and make sure those are addressed before you actually go throw it on the market and then realize, oh crap, everybody who would have potentially been a consumer for this gun didn't want a slab side barrel, or didn't want a weird trigger guard cut or something like that doesn't fit anybody's holsters. Stupid stuff like that. Sometimes the industry wants to make stuff different for the sake of making it different, but then they forget there's no holsters now. The speed loaders don't work with those grips, whatever else.
Oh, Lord.
They create all these problems that guys that are serious end users who want these guns are not going to bother. You know what? I'll go buy a used Smith. It's easier.
Remember what I said about throwing spaghetti at the wall?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing people don't think about, is holsters. Like, buddy, when I buy a new gun, it's not the cost of the gun. It's double action. It might be speed loaders. It's holsters, man. So like whatever you're selling that thing for, add $200 and the weight to it. It's got to be right.
Yeah. The UC, the Ultimate Carry opened the door to a lot of people that were not dedicated revolver people. The dedicated revolver people went nuts for it. But the number of people I had call me, even like guys that are, in their 60s, that retired cops that spent most of their time on a semi-auto and never really got into small revolvers. They're at that stage in life where it's like, well, I need one. These are good, right? And then the mountain gun, we had a customer that ended up with a 686 plus mountain gun. He's 62 years old. That was his first revolver. And now he's calling me like weekly, like, what do I buy next? So that's been a real cool thing to like hit the like 21 to 31 year olds with cool revolvers that they dig. And then the people that were kind of revolver curious in the semi-auto era are now starting to go, man, I see a lot of use for that. So it's really opened a ton of doors lately for, consumers that, like you guys were talking about. Oh, well, the stiffling pattern's different. Well, It's got a 2-port comp instead of a single. And there's nothing wrong with those guns. I love those guns, but there's it made revolvers approachable again, which I really appreciate.
Now, I will caution one thing, and John kind of touched on it earlier in the podcast, is that the door is kind of closing though on the custom big bore revolver world, because you got Hamilton Bowen retiring, John Linebaugh passed away,
David Clemens
David Clemens retired.
Yeah, there's no replacements for these
There's
guys.
not. There's a few
There's
guys.
a couple,
but it's still. And I think what these guys have realized though is that there's not a lot of money in this. I mean, they can only make so many guns, and most of one of you guys might even said it. Every custom gun guy will tell you that you can build cool guns, but then selling parts is where it actually pays the bills. And so until these guys can get a part or something like that going, it's really tough. It's a tough way to make a living, and there's probably not a lot of guys willing to jump in there. So and if you look at what those used guns are costing, now you go on Gunbroker and pull up Bowen or Linebaugh, be prepared to write big check money. I mean, it's serious money.
There aren't any right now, but $6,000 and up. Yeah. And that's for the most basic,
Would you like a used Subaru or a Bowen custom gun?
Right.
I would like a Bowen custom gun.
Yeah, fair.
So there's that. So anybody who's thinking about, man, a 5.5-inch barrel bandit 500 Linebaugh with ivory grips, I wouldn't wait around too long. I would maybe start looking at that now, and hopefully that'll pick up, and other guys will carry the torch. But Freedom Arms, BFR, those are good places to look. The Freedom Arms guns are fantastic guns. But heck, they're not cheap either. I mean, they're about $3,500 now, I think, for an 83, something like that. I mean,
I think it's closer to $5,000. I know. I expect one.
The basic field models still, it's in the $3,000 range, but also, everybody can go on and look at everybody's production numbers for the year. It's published data. Freedom Arms makes less revolvers a year than I think I have in my house right now. They're hard to get.
Right.
If you order one custom, I think you're looking at 2 years right now. Don't quote me on that. I would have to ask Mr. Baker.
Yeah.
But if you want a Freedom Arms gun spec, you're looking at a 2-year wait. They do have dealers. And I know I don't know him. I wouldn't know him if he was in the room. I shot one of his guns, a young guy in Reno, Jordan Switzer. Like I said, I don't know him from anyone. The gun was beautiful. Jack Huntington's still building them, but man, I'd get on that list because he's next. He's not a spring chicken. Right. And I've got some of his guns. They're fantastic.
Ronnie Wells is building some cool guns.
Yep.
But Ronnie's he's busier than
Yeah.
So I mean, who knows if he's building guns this week or parts the next? And
you may call Ronnie and he'll build you a gun. You may call Ronnie and he'll be like, I'm going to build a
right
alcohol fueled hot rod this week.
Yeah. It's kind of like Randall Knight.
It costs somebody to get a hot rod.
Yeah.
My dad and I just sent a old model 3-screw 357 to Alan Harton to have it made into a custom 41 special. We shipped it out 2 weeks ago, and Alan's still doing work. Then there's a guy named Ryan Ross that Furman Garza turned me on to, but not a whole lot. And to Jason's credit, that flat top 41 mid frame, my dad picked one up, and I said, "Don't you have a 41 Blackhawk?" And he pulls a full Clements custom out of the safe. And he goes, "Yeah, I wanted to retire this one." I was like, "Oh my God.
Yeah.
Have you seen what those sell for?" And he goes, "Yeah, I might need to pay my truck off."
Yeah, this is Clements Bisley Vaquero in 45 Colt that he built for me. This was modeled after Ross Seifert's gun that he used up in Elk Song. And but again, I mean, these guns are they're just slick, man. They're just when you cock the hammer, it just makes that thunk that the factory guns don't make, and everything's perfect on it. Mm-hmm. But you're going to pay for it these days. I mean, that's just the thing.
Like you said, 80-85% out of a factory gun before you get into diminishing returns. So this one is Hamilton Bowen, one of the first 475 Nimrods he ever built. It's actually Mark 475 Magnum. I've talked to him about it. He's like, yeah, at the time I didn't think I'd put a competitor's name down my barrel, but also we're friends. And then when it got Sammy approved, I changed the markings. I think Ben Forkin remembered working on this gun. That's how old it is. Blocked. You can see the extra screw, blocked action, everything, all you could do. This was Jeff Cooper's gun. So if you've ever been to gun sight and seen a picture of him with a revolver and a chest rig on his 3-wheeler in the sconce, it's this gun. And it's mechanically perfect. He had it magna ported. Don't love that. But you couldn't, it's mechanically, you can't make a better one. That's kind of, Bowen retiring is a sad day for everybody. Will this gun do anything in practical terms with this? Lipsy's 480. I think I paid $800 for when I got it. It won't. But it's different when you hold it. Yeah. The pride of ownership is.
Yeah. And it's also, honestly, it depends on what you want to do with it, because I've got several custom guns, and what gun that I bring to Africa, I brought my Super Red Hawk. Mm-hmm. And that gun is probably the ugliest revolver that I own. But you know what? If I'm going to Africa, it's my first trip. I don't know if something's going to happen to, whatever. I'm like, I'm not bringing my Customs Clements gun over there. I'm not bringing a line ball gun over there. And so, that's the thing too. If you want a big bore gun to go hunt, you want to go travel, you're going to fly with these guns, man, it's probably not a bad idea to have a Raging Hunter. It's not bad to have a Super Red Hawk, something like that you're not going to cry about if something happens to it.
And we joke, like in the training side of the community, and Matt's heard this, we joke about we don't joke, actually. There's some people who are very serious about the idea that 2 is 1 and 1 is none, right? Like you have to have your carry gun, and then you have to have an exact copy of your carry gun that you train with, right? And so you don't shoot your carry gun a lot, you shoot your training gun a lot. And and I know I've talked to Bryan about this too. Honestly, one of the cool things about Taurus is hey, you know what? You can do that. Go get yourself a Raging Hunter and 44 Magnum and shoot the dog water out of it. And you'll spend, I don't know, $750, $800 if you get it on Gunbroker, and go get yourself another one and zero with your hunting loads and shoot it 4 or 5 times a year just to make sure that it holds zero and all of that. You've got one to practice with so that you can, run and slam it down on the sticks and throw it on the sticks and do all of the shit and drop it and whatever. And you're not going to break the bank. And I love a custom gun. Now, admittedly, I don't have any really high-end custom revolvers because because of my background, I tend to treat guns like baseball bats, right? They're not precious things to me, with a couple of very limited exceptions. But when I was running around Africa with my Raging Hunter, I wasn't worried if I banged it on the truck getting into getting in and out of the vehicle. I wasn't worried if I fell while I was maybe chasing a kudu and it fell out of my holster, which that's a real thing that happened. And the gun's all beat up now. You look at it, it's got carry marks, it's got wear marks, it's got all of this stuff that's happened to it. I don't care. The gun's $800, right? And it's held zero, trigger's still good. Mechanically, the gun's fine. It just cosmetically beat up. But it's cosmetically beat up in a way that would really, really upset me if that gun cost $5,000 or $3,000 or some number like that, where I'd be like, I don't necessarily know if I want to beat the dog shit out of this gun. But because it's, $800, $1,000, whatever you're paying for a Raging Hunter these days, it's a working gun. And I like a working gun. And I do think a working gun that has been beat up, has kind of been through the ringer, does have a character and does have a class all its own. There's something about that where you look at it, you're like, oh, that gun's seen some weird shit. I'll be here for that.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and to you guys' credit, Taurus, we actually, AFR, me and Daryl, when we're teaching classes, we don't hesitate to recommend Taurus anymore. If somebody's needs a gateway revolver,
856. I need to record that and send it to my boss.
Yeah, what's wrong with an 856? Or the 856 ultralight, which that's my, if Daryl and I are going someplace sketchy to do something semi-sketchy, the 856 ultralight goes with me, because if I got to throw it in the dumpster, okay, you know,
if it winds up in a
but
storm drain, I'll get another one.
yeah, but it works, you know, and it's accurate. And the beauty is, you know, you guys on those pinned front sight revolvers kind of cracked the code of, like, for $15, I can replace the front sight with a 1/16 roll punch. You know, it's
Throw an excess big dot on there, throw a fiber optic on there, whatever. Like, hell, even I'm looking at the executive grade 856, which is, you know, the modern man's Model 12, right? Or no, Model 12 was aluminum, but regardless, 3-inch belt gun, 6-shot 38 special. They're $500 on Instagram. If I have to shoot somebody outside, or Instagram, sorry, gun broker. I'm a little tired, guys. I have a 6-year-old, and he is being a real dick lately.
He's 6, man.
Exactly. They're real dicks at that age.
The only reason you don't strangle them at that age is so you can hunt with them when they turn like 14.
Oh, facts. He is. Oh, you guys will a sidebar appreciate this. So my wife, I love my wife. She's wonderful. Third try was in fact the charm. However, absolutely loathes taxidermy of any type, right? So my wildebeest shoulder mount is going in my Air Force office. The European mounts are going to go in my office down at the Bainbridge facility. The zebra rug is in fact allowed in the house, so that's coming back to the house. But the funniest thing was I was showing my son photos of the wildebeest mount on my phone, and he goes, "Daddy, can we put that in my room?" And I was like, "Go say that to your mother right now. Like, just take your little butt in there and tell your mom exactly what you just said to me, because now I've got some ammo." I still lost, but you know, it was a fun moment.
Same here, but I've got the AFR studio is my
that's nice
ground. So, and I am going to go on a spree of handgun hunting this year. And a lot of it with single actions and bullets that I've cast or Jason and friends have given me, like some that's the other cool thing I love about the big bore revolvers. It's like, oh, well, I'm working on this load. And then, you know, we're down at Lipsy's and Jason's counterpart, Dale, goes, "Hey, I got some of these 310s that Jason and I have been loading for years here." And I just loaded a bunch of those the other night, and I'm gonna go schwack something with that. And, you know, like, what other thing can you identify that it's like? I think, Jason, you took some different 460 bullets and loads to Africa and that people had given you. I mean, how cool is that, right?
Yeah, I took. I had one of the loads I used in Africa was these 390 grain cast hollow points for the 480 for some of the smaller stuff, and I had some that were cast by 3 different shootist that I brought, and I loaded them with the same loads and shot stuff with each of them. So, you know, just stuff like that, man. It makes it more special, and you know, you can't. I don't know. You don't seem to have that when it comes to the tactical bro world. It seems like, you know, but I don't know. It's these things are so cool. You got great leather guys like Branty. You got guys like Simply Rugged. They're making these great chest rigs and holsters for these guns that are set up correctly. Because you know why? Those guys carry big bore revolvers on a daily basis too. So they know what works. They know what doesn't work. And, you know, it's really hard to beat a good old-fashioned Ruger single-action revolver, even the old down and dirty 7.5-inch Super Blackhawk that's as, you know, is available every pawn shop in America for as long as I can remember. Makes a great gateway into that world. And you can do some pretty heavy stuff with 44 Magnum with those guns. Mm-hmm. Personally, I suggest a Bisley grip frame if you're going to go into the real Wristbreakers. I think when you get beyond 44 Magnum and you start getting into that 5-shot 45 Colt world, you really need to go to the Bisley. You know, this gun is at 480. You know, and I'll just tell you some basic stuff for guys who are thinking about doing something custom. You know, y'all might have talked about, you know, cylinder throats and stuff like that, and forcing cones, and, you know, on the other podcast. that's important. That's really the lifeblood of getting these guns to shoot, is making sure that your bullets are sized for the barrel and for the throats. And, you kind of want to look at it, think of it as a funnel. If you're shooting a 4.52 diameter bullet, that bore diameter is going to be 4.51, and that you want your throats 4.53 or 4.525. And that way everything is hitting it just right. You're getting a good gas seal. That's how you build that pressure. That's how you get that velocity. That's how you keep that accuracy. You want that cylinder gap fairly tight. You want an oversized locking base pin on these big bores. These spring-loaded latches will launch these suckers and tie the gun up. So the good thing is Andy Larson at Skinner Sights has bought belt mountain base pins, and they're available again. So that's the first thing that I buy for any of my Ruger single actions is one of the belt mountain base pins.
Factory 480 was the first one Ruger put a lock and base pin on.
It is, yeah. So on that gun, when we did the testing on it, we're like, it's got to have a lock and base pin. It's not oversized though. With standard diameter. So Belt Mountain does make an oversized one like this one, and so it takes a little bit of the slop out of the cylinder. It's not much, but it's subtle, and I like it. Furman Garza did the gold bead front sight on this gun. I highly recommend, if you're going to do a big bore gun, make it where you can change the front sight, because you might want to have a 400 grain at 1200 load for hunting, but you also might want to shoot a 355 at 950 for your everyday load. And that, there's no handgun platform that has a more vertical point of impact shift than a single action revolver. It's just the guns recoil. I mean, they're designed to recoil like this. So if it's recoiling faster because it's shooting heavier load, it's going to shoot higher. I mean, there's just no way around that. And that you really don't want to be cranking up and down on your rear sight a whole lot. It's a lot easier to control that with your front sight. Easy to change front sight, big deal there. The rear sight, if you can get a Bowen rear sight, that's the gold standard. Especially on these big bores, the factory sights are okay, but they're not great. You can get more action going with the heavy recoil. The Bowen sight is locked in. You won't get that point of impact shift so much. Your basic action work, stuff like that. I like micarta on these big bores. You're not going to break it. It's not going to crack. The last thing you want to do is be in Africa and have a panel crack on you. That'd be bad for your hunt. Micarta's not going to do that. This Bobby Tyler made these grips. He's got a nice little palm swell in the middle. John Linebaugh started that on a lot of his guns, and that really locks these guns into your palm, especially since the recoil is going like this. That's kind of what I do to mine. And, honestly, it's not a super expensive deal. Start doing caliber conversions. You take a 45 Colt or a 44 Magnum and send it to one of these custom guys, and they build it into a 475 or a 500. Now you're getting into expense because it's a new barrel, it's a new cylinder. They're having to retime the gun, all that kind of stuff. But if you take a box stock 480 Ruger or 454 Casull or even a 45 Colt or 44 Magnum, you can do some basic stuff to these guns and get them shooting pretty good, pretty quick. If your throats are tight, that's actually not as bad of a problem as being oversized. Furman and Garza can open them up for you. If they're oversized, at that point, either you're having to size your bullets bigger or get another cylinder and rechamber it. That's probably your best bet. But, these big bores, really cast bullets are probably the answer. For one, you get free velocity. There's not as much friction in the bore, so you can drive a 400 grain cast bullet faster with the same powder charge as you can with a jacketed bullet. And quite honestly, the expansion is really not needed. This is a 410 grain hard cast wide flat nose out of a 480. This is a buffalo bore load that I shot a wildebeest at 100 yards with and recovered it. And I mean, it barely deformed.
Did you
the job?
Where was the bullet in the wildebeest?
So I shot it at an angle, and it kind of went forward out like this, and then it was lodged. I could actually see the lump as it was running off its offside in the paunch. And
So I think we're probably, I feel like the number of people that have shot a wildebeest with a handgun is not a significant number of people, but there's 2 of us on this call, and that's weird that's that's like
that we know of.
That's how you know when you're in the really like pointy end of the spear of revolver.
You're in the 7th layer of hell degeneracy when you
right, like
50% of the panel has shot a wildebeest with a handgun.
Right. So, because I shot one with the 44 mag with that Barnes 225 load, and it was, I had a perfect presentation for it. Like, he was standing broadside. I shot him right at the top of the shoulder. The bullet blew the shoulder out, lung, heart, lung, and it came to rest on the other side of the skin. And you could basically like squeeze it out. I keep that bullet on my desk. And when I tell you that it looks like an ad for a hollow point that you would see in a magazine.
That looks like it came out of gel.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I mean, that was one of those where, and you guys, you've all had these experiences where you're like, you can read about a thing, but then you do it and you see the actual real performance of that projectile in a 500-pound animal, and you're like, oh, I'm sold. Like, I'm good. I know what this is going to do.
Well, I'm getting a real kick out of single actions lately because.
Yeah, are. You're posting. It cost me money.
I have worked on a lot of Smith revolvers. I built a lot of 1911s, and single actions have their like factory Rugers. They have their own little quirks, but they're incredibly simple. And I can take a factory gun like. I'll give you an example. Daryl and I picked up a couple of 3.75 44 Magnums. They're Talo guns. Mm-hmm. And they're with a jacketed bullet. They shot fine. I'm a big cast lead guy, so I get mine out, and it's got the telltale ring right in front of the forcing cone, which was 11 degrees, by the way. I was like, thank God they finally did that. But I had to get lapping compound out, roll bullets in lapping compound, and do all this stuff. And I fire lapped them. I made sure the chamber throats were perfect, honed the chambers with a ball hone. And then I take a mandrel and I work up to 1200 grit emery cloth and polish the forcing cones out. And I do all this stuff in my garage with like a power drill and I've got reamers and things like that. But that really, like, I took Daryl to the range. I had done all that stuff to his gun, just like mine. And I said, hey, we're going to fire lap the barrel. And he's like, I've never done that. And I load up all the ammo and I watch his groups go from like at 10 yards, like 2.5 inches to like 3/4 of an inch within the span of like 40 rounds. And then I'm peeling lead out of the barrel between each cylinder, and I clean them up. And then he throws his jacketed bullets in and shoots like a one-hole group at 10 yards. And he's like, holy crap, So I get, with the single actions, kind of like 1911s, I get a real satisfaction out of taking something that's like, it's good and making it just perfect, right? And then I've put in oversized cylinder stops. My 45 Colt has a Super Blackhawk hammer in it. I do the action work on them, oversized base pins, things like that. And, it's not something that Joe Average can do, but it's not unattainable for Joe Average to learn how to do that. Power Custom. I've spent a lot of money with Power Custom, Manson reamers, and, Tap Magic cutting fluid and a lot of this stuff. And I have sent Furman Garza a lot of money in the last year. But a lot of that stuff with just a plain Jane factory Blackhawk, man, with like a little bit of know-how and like the Kuhnhausen manual, man, you can make those things just awesome. And then, once you get them all awesome, then you start, there you go. Then you start, you get a Lee casting pot.
Giddings all here.
Right. You get the Lee casting pot, and you're reading Tank Hoover articles, and, you're filing your bullet cedar dies flat, and And
Guys, I tell you what,
before-
if you're at that level, I will just hand you one of my revolver degenerate pins. You don't need to do a shooting task or anything like that. If you're at the point where you're filing bullet molds, that is a level of revolver degeneracy that is reserved for the truly depraved.
yeah,
If you saw my reloading room, you would lose your mind, Caleb.
Dude,
You know what's
Yeah.
funny? So the one line that I have never been able to cross into is reloading, right? Like I can shoot these guns at a very high level. I can do, I can work on these guns at a reasonable level. But I've never been able to cross the line into reloading. And I just think honestly, I think it's because I don't have the right flavor of autism for that. Like I have the flavor of autism for like, what can I do, when I am pressing this trigger in the 0.35 of a second it takes me to press this trigger. How can I press this trigger slightly differently to keep from moving the gun that much less to shoot a tighter group or whatever? That's the flavor I got. But then the people are like, well, I spent 12 years refining my 44 Magnum load. And I'm like, God bless you, my child, because but what's funny is like as consumers, we benefit from those people because even at the very nerdy individual loading level, that information works its way back, right? Like the quality of commercially loaded ammo that I can get for 44 Magnum today is way better than what I could have got 20, 30 years ago, right? The Barnes load I was just talking about, the 225 grain solid copper hollow point that's loaded by Federal, and it's not. And what's great about it is, I don't know how they figured it out, but a bunch of nerds sat down and they're like, we don't actually need to drive this bullet at, 1,600, 1,500 feet per second. We can drive it at 1,200 feet per second, and it actually penetrates better and expands better if we ratchet it back. And you guys, we all remember when everything was all about pushing the bullet as fast as you fucking possibly could. And we had somebody... Yeah. Oh God, Corbon. Yeah, exactly. But we, because of hand loaders, that information has trickled back into the mainstream where we're like, hang on, 225 grain solid copper hollow point doesn't need to be going whatever insane muzzle velocity, which then makes it more shootable and makes it more approachable for other people. So really, it's not a bad, if you are looking to get into big bore wheel guns, now's actually a really good time to do it because the availability of products that run from an affordable quality, like, do you want to get a 44 Magnum? Go get yourself a Taurus M44 in the 6-inch gun. It's like $700 and it's a great gun. And you're not going to break the bank. Or you can go and get yourself a really expensive gun. There's never been, honestly, gun industry wide, but for revolvers, for big bore revolvers, there's never been a better time to get into it. We have more products, better values, better pizza, better people, Papa fucking John's than we've ever had before.
Factory ammo is the best it's ever been by a wide margin. And guns, to some degree, I don't see it as much with handguns. Unfortunately, rifles, man, like it's the golden age of rifles and optics and factory ammo. It's so good right now. Yeah.
Caleb, I will gift you. I have the perfect gift for you, but since you're flying to revolver round,
is it a gun he's got to reload for?
No.
At Revolver Fest.
At Revolver Fest.
Is that event full yet, Brian? Or can people still sign up?
Well, here's the kicker. My good friend, my dear friend Justin Dial called me the other day, and his schedule opened up. So I opened 10 more seats, and or actually 15, and I think we have 10 left. But Justin Dial, how many people get to train with him with a revolver, right? Like the dude that shoots 100 perfect 100s every year with a revolver, like that guy, he's going to be on our instructor cadre. But I was thinking,
I have the dates in the website, like do the marketing thing. Please, come on. Revolverfest.com.
There's 10 or 11 seats left. Demo day, $25. Just show up. Clinton House, South Carolina.
I can promise you guys that Taurus USA will have enough ammunition for you to shoot. I don't know about some other manufacturers.
You caused a bit of a storm the other day, but anyway, 3 hours of phone calls later, it was like, okay, we got it figured out. But
you'll appreciate this, Jason. So I posted just a throwaway picture on my Instagram of all of the ammo I am bringing to this event from Taurus USA, and
for
another
demo day
manufacturer
alone
was like, "Yeah, just for demo day," and another manufacturer was like, "That's a lot of ammo. Are we not bringing enough ammo?"
You can never bring enough.
So
yeah, because they don't know whatever I don't shoot just comes back to my house.
That's right. Exactly.
So we got Justin Dial and we added Bruce Haas Cartwright because unless you're in Montana, you're not going to get a chance to train with him. But I have an RCBS single stage from about 1972. I will gift it to you.
Is this like the first taste is free kind of shit? Is this some like 1980s crack dealer shit? Like, oh man, I'll just give you this one. You're going to like it.
And I'll give it to you because at one time I calculated I had loaded somewhere in the neighborhood of 35,000 rounds on it. And for every round, that's 4 pulls of the handle. So you can do math. But
I don't like math, but gross.
But a lot. But when you're putting that much time and care into it, when your standard deviation out of a Super Blackhawk is like 6, it's pretty. It gives you a warm fuzzy. But
no, I get that.
Yeah,
and I think for me with reloading, and I think a lot of people are sort of like this. If you came to revolvers from the semi-automatic pistol world, right? Like, if you're a volume shooter on semi-automatic pistols, with the exception of the brief time during COVID, 9mm ammo was so cheap that your cost investment time to like, I'm going to buy all the equipment, I'm going to figure out how to reload this versus just buying cases of Blazer off of, whatever luckygunner.com, they're a sponsor. You should buy ammo from them. I got you, Matt. I know what's up. Versus buying ammo off Lucky Gunner, it didn't make a whole lot of sense necessarily, right? Like, if you're choosing to spend time reloading your 9mm ammo versus spending time with your kids, you might be making wrong choices. But I was sort of lucky because I did all of this high volume competition shooting where I'm just buying factory, 9mm and then 38s and all of that, and it's pretty good, decent ammo. And then when I finally got back into big bore shooting in a way where ammo mattered to me, because when I was just blasting rounds out of my 58 Remington and my Taurus Stellar Tracker, I didn't really care about ammo. Now I care. Factory ammo is really fucking good. Like, it's it's so much better than it was 20 or 30 years ago.
Tell you what's not for this stuff though is cheap.
Yeah.
The what?
Man, I think when I look at my reloading room, kind of like Jason, like I just bought a new house. I was signing the contract when I stepped away. And it's entirely so I can have a 800 square foot reloading room.
Hell yeah.
The entire, I love it. Nice place. The gun room and reloading room is all I care about. Some of the stuff I shoot, I have to reload for. Even the 480, the factory loads, if you want to shoot deer with them, they're great. The XTP and then I think they do a DGX in it now, maybe.
No, I think it's just a 325 XTP is all that they load.
Yeah.
Spear made like a 325 gold dot, but there's nothing heavy unless you go to Buffalo Bore or something like that.
Buffalo Bore, and I mean Buffalo Bore, I think is $4 a round, somewhere around there.
Oh God, yeah.
Great stuff. He does it right, but like that's not for me, man. I want to shoot more than that. Right. $4 a round. I'll go shoot my 338 or my double rifle at that point. So I got to reload for it. Same thing with the 500s. Like, you've got so much versatility in those. 45 Colt too, definitely have to reload for to get the most out of it.
Big bore revolvers and hand loading.
Yeah, you have to.
Not only for the expense, but also it allows you to download to a comfortable level. I mean, if all you had was full power, 480 ammo to shoot all the time, you wouldn't be able to shoot as much of it anyways.
As you watch your shelf slowly go from H110 and HP 38 to HP 38 and less 110.
Exactly. It's so funny when during COVID, I said, man, I got to do a primer, primer count here and figure out where I'm at because your primers are going all crazy and everything. And I looked at my large pistol primers, and I had like 10,000 Magnum primers. It was 10x more pistol Magnum primers I had than large primers, and I'm like, well, that just shows me I haven't loaded a whole lot of Magnum here lately, and or H110. And you're right, you just tend to not use it as much. And you start to find that okay, let me load something in that 400 grain at about 1050 range that you're not necessarily going to find in a factory load, or vice versa. I might want a 45 Colt. I might want to shoot a 300 grain at 1150, which is going to be hard to find in a factory load. Mm-hmm. And so it's almost a necessity, and that's not even including you start getting into line balls and the JRHs and everything else. So, if you're going to get into the large bore handgun stuff, I would highly suggest learning how to hand load, and probably not your first hand loads. You should probably go out there and do is your 500 line ball loads. You probably get some 38 special dies and kind of tweak tweak everything that with those first, and you'll enjoy that too, by the way. But pretty much large bore handguns, hand loading, good leather holsters, cast bullets, and custom guns. That's going to be your world, man. But the great thing is, it's a great world to be in, and people, it's a tight knit thing, and there's a lot of good people in it. There's a lot of good people making good gear these days, so it's a good place.
Everybody's real helpful. It's nice. It's a very different world.
Yeah,
and that's going to be an upcoming topic.
I hand load sheerly for accuracy, and there is nothing like the feeling of, I decked a turkey about 5 years ago with a 44 mag load that I came up with that was like 250. I say I came up with it. Somebody had already done it, but it's like 10 grains of shotgun powder and a bullet that I cast made a 62-yard neck shot on a turkey.
That's some nerd shit.
Oh man, because with a 4 5/8 inch stainless Super Blackhawk, I could go out and shoot like 5-inch groups at 100 yards with this gun. I was like, oh my God. The other day, the Talo guns that we picked up at Litzy's, I fire lapped the barrels, lapped the forcing cones, made sure the chambers were all right. And at 25 yards, I'm shooting like 1.25 inch groups with that, like standing offhand. Like, factory ammo, there's some like gold medal match, you're going to get that out of a 38 maybe. But when you really put that extra like 5% into the hand load, man, and
those are 3 3/4 inch barrels too.
Yeah.
I know it.
Dude, I just bought a ransom.
What was it? Brian just triggered a memory. The 185 grain gold medal match semi-wad cutter 45 ACP out of the 5-inch 625s was a sub 2-inch at 50 yards load out on those guns. That was, I don't know, whatever. And I'm sure, because I know Smith & Wesson, I'm sure that there was actually a specific dash of 625 that was the best out of. But if you had, the 625 45 ACP with that load, and also just an absolute pussycat to shoot, because those 185 gold medal match rounds were, they were for our gamers out there, they were minor power factor. Mm-hmm. They were a 45 ACP round that was only making a 140 power factor, which is just it's a mouse fart out of a semi-auto. And they wouldn't run a 1911 unless you had, super light springs and a bunch of other shit in it. But out of a 625, when I tell you, oh man, that like Brian just like brought back a whole memory. I was like, oh my God, those guns. So if you ever want to have like the most pleasant big bore revolver shooting experience ever, go get some of those rounds, because Federal still makes them from time to time. Go on Gunbroker and get a 5-inch 625. go to Apex's website and get their end frame action kit, then watch a bunch of YouTube videos so that you can learn how to install this end frame action kit without fucking up your gun. You're still going to fuck up your gun. But once you finally get it right, that combination will be so pleasant to shoot that you will, it's like shooting a 148 grain gold medal match wad cutter out of an L frame. Like, it's just such a, man. I forgot how fucking fun that. I want to go buy an end frame now. Damn it!
No,
I'm super excited because I just got.
Yeah, that's clearly what I need.
That's the great thing about the Blackhawks and 45 Colt. You can get an ACP convertible cylinder.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a very cheap alternative to shoot those guns. It's the same gun you're hunting with. And the good thing with being single action, you don't have to screw around with moon clips or any of that kind of stuff, which makes that, so anybody who's got a lot of ACP rounds laying around or whatever, or has access right now, it's pretty cheap to buy factory ammo. You don't have to hand load it, but that makes that 45 Colt convertible even that much more versatile and a great buy. I mean, just in the amount of money you'll save on practice ammo with the ACP cylinder, it'll pay for the gun versus buying the equivalent gun in 44 Magnum. Because
no, it will not pay for the gun, guys. You will just end up spending more money on 45 ACP ammo. But definitely get the gun, because that was.
It's a sales pitch, man. Come on.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm here for it.
Too,
your broken 1911 mag that will, jack up whatever your pet 1911 is. You throw that in your semi-auto or your single action bag, and you strip rounds. Thank you, Chauncey, State Line Shoot Us, for that pro tip.
Did you see Chauncey's latest video though, where he was loading a single action with speed strips?
Yes,
the way he thumbed them out in reverse. I was like, dude, I never thought about doing it that way. That was brilliant.
The way he was doing it, like it was so crazy that I actually got hey guys, Taurus makes a single action. I got one of my single actions and a bunch of speed strips, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it the way he does it, and then I'm gonna do it the way that seems more intuitive to me. And then I was like, when I tell you, I ate up a good hour of dry fire time fucking loading this single action gun, being like, wait, which one of these is actually faster? Because as I've said, that's the flavor of autism that I got.
Good thing you don't reload.
Yeah. See, but no, that guy, he's great. His videos, I love them. Like, that's the kind of shit that I am here for.
He's awesome, man. He's such a nice guy too. He's great.
Well, again, it's people who live with these guns on a day-to-day basis, and they figure out what works, not by going on internet forums and having a bitch moaning fest about this over that. They go out there and actually do the stuff, and that's what you'll find in the big bore single action world is a lot of guys who actually go out and use their stuff and do their stuff. And, a lot of the guys who were really the innovators in this stuff back in the late 70s and 80s, that's how they developed all this stuff. I remember Jim Taylor, who was really kind of the unsung hero of that group with Jim, with John Taffin and all those guys. I mean, he was experimenting with all kind of crazy stuff with, using different materials for bullet lubes and all this different stuff. And they figured all this stuff out just by going out and shooting tens of thousands of rounds to these guns. And that's kind of how the whole Shoot Us holiday started, was people getting together once a year to kind of say, hey, the last 11 months I've been playing with this. What have you been messing with? Okay, this is what I tried. And they'd figure all this stuff out. And that's, it was just a real learn by using experience, which now, unfortunately, a lot of people have lost because now they just go on Google and now they're experts in 20 minutes because they did the AI summation of big bore 6 guns, so, but that's a beautiful thing is you can go out there and get satisfaction of playing with different bullet diameters for your cast loads and stuff like that, and figuring out, man, it's nothing better than when you're working up a load for your 45 Colt and at 20 grains of H110 with a 300 grain bullet, you're shooting okay, 20 and a half grains, it's doing all right. Then at 21, all of a sudden the group just shrinks into this. And then, oh, okay, we're here. And then at 21 and a half, it starts opening back up again, or whatever. And it's just find that happy spot. And then, then you go load 1,000 of them and you shoot those for the next year. And then, but then the next 45 Colt, it might be something different. It's just kind of the way it works. I think Jon Canipe was kind of famous for saying that every gun's a law unto itself. And he was 100% right on that.
So some of us had the great fortune to have Tank Hoover's cell phone number on tap, and I can go, hey dude, I got this powder, this bullet, this primer, this case. Get me in the ballpark,
Yeah.
And I again, I mean, I can't say enough good things about Tank. Like, he is carrying that torch right now, and he's doing a fine job of it. So, but yeah, and then Furman, there's an article on Doc Barante's site where Furman talks about cylinder throats and fire lapping, which, man, that is invaluable. And I have resurrected some guns that I was like, I don't think I can get this one to shoot. And Daryl and I went and taught in Wyoming this last weekend, and I took a 624 that was just problematic, and I ran it through all my trickery, and then I fire lapped it right before we left, cleaned it out, had not shot the gun since. And because my dear friend Bob Radecki was there to stand in solidarity, I shot a 44 special on day one with the 624, and that gun was shooting one hole groups to 10 yards. And I was like, there it is. And I wouldn't have been able to achieve that if it wasn't for Tank Hoover giving me some load data, Jon Canipe sending me some Skeeter and line ball loads, Furman Garza telling me how to fire lap a barrel. All of those things came together to make that happen. And I think in tactical world, we get used to, you buy American Eagle 147, you put it in a Gen 5 Glock, and things just work out.
Weapon light, red dot.
Yeah, weapon light, red dot, and all that tertiary stuff. But, in revolver space, it's like the guns have a personality, and if you're interested in those guns, you're going to eventually find the personalities and the people out there to help make you successful. And that's something that Jon Canipe and I have talked about this a lot. It's a real breath of fresh air instead of arguing about, what MOA our dot needs to be or how many lumens and candela our light needs to be to, hey man, that's a cool revolver. What load are you shooting?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't argue. We just share information, and it's great.
If we could just get Ruger to stop over torquing barrels.
Yeah, but
thread choke is a deal, is an issue.
It can be, but I like the fun of going.
But then I wouldn't get to fire lap them.
Right. That gives me an excuse.
I'm going to be with Caleb on that one. That's a little too much for me. It's like, I want my gun to be thread choked so I can go have the fun of fire lapping it. You may cross the line, Brian.
No, the fun of fire lapping it is not a statement that normal people. I mean, I
don't use.
That gives me the excuse to go in the garage and load, 5 grains of HP 38 and turn bullets upside down after I've rolled them between metal plates that I got at the local hardware store. So I've been injected money into my local economy for a couple of pieces of scrap steel, and I've got some bullets that I bought from some other guy that are soft cast, and then I get a JB lapping compound kit from another. So it's like I'm patronizing a whole bunch of different companies just to put 50 rounds of ammo down my barrel. That's a cool feeling, right? And then to see the end results of that, and when I can take a brush and lead just falls out of the gun, I don't have to dig it out. It's like, man, that's a cool feeling. And I got to actually load some more because Lou Gosnell is bringing a 44 mag Vaquero to the Revolver Fest, and he's like, I think it's thread choked. I'll make up a lapping kit for you. You don't get that in 9mm world. You don't get that in AR world. You only get that in the serious, revolver degeneracy world, right?
But guys, not to put you off of revolver degeneracy, you don't actually need to care about thread lapping or all of this other nerdery to get involved in this, because you can go to the store and you can buy a Colt Anaconda in 44 Magnum or a Taurus Raging Hunter in 44 Magnum and just do that. You don't actually have to, like, you gotta, like, and I'm joking. Bryan and I have known each other for a while now, and so I'm obviously taking the piss, but the gateway drugs are gateway drugs for a reason. Like, Bryan is on the enhanced distilled fentanyl level of this at this point. Like, whatever, like, he's so far gone we can't bring him back. But like, if you just want to do like the marijuana gummies of big bore revolvers, I'm trying to speak to the people here, all right?
The bad thing is, I am not nearly the degenerate that Ronnie Wells or Furman Garza is.
Yeah, they're don't go on podcasts. You're here on the podcast, right? Those guys don't go on podcasts.
That's the difference.
They're making it. They're cooking the drugs, man.
Yeah, they're cooking the drugs that they're giving to you. But for real, guys, like, if you want like the entry level version of this, to use the joke again, the marijuana gummy, that's the great thing about these factory produced revolvers, right? Like, a Super Red Hawk is not that expensive. A Raging Hunter is not that expensive, and they're great guns. And for the vast majority of end users, they will do everything that you need the gun to do, right? They will put a hole in both sides of a deer. They will shoot pretty good groups.
Jason took him to Africa.
Yeah. My personal crusade about shooting these guns double action aside, you shoot them in single action, they've all got pretty good triggers. Like, it's not, like I said, it's a really good time to get into this. And the bar for entry, because factory ammo is good, because the guns are good, is lower than it's ever been. And, because, we all remember when it was like, oh, you want to do like weirdo high caliber Magnum revolver stuff? I hope you've got $2,000 for the gun and you can't buy ammo. Like, good luck. But you can go buy a 460, or hell, go to your local pawn shop. And this is actual advice, because I go to my pawn shops here in South Carolina all the time, and I see more of two very specific guns. I see more Super Red Hawks and Taurus Raging Hunters with almost no turn lines on the cylinders. Yep. And what that tells me is people bought this gun, they put a cylinder of ammo through it, they put it back in their safe, and then when it came time to buy diapers, make a car payment, buy tires for their car, something like that, they took that shit to the pawn shop because they never ever shot it. There's so many really good 454 Casull Raging Hunters floating around pawn shops right now for like $700. Go get one.
Well,
Caleb, I just want you to know I only shoot double action guns on double action.
Yes, that's because you're a real fucking man.
That was a 500 too.
Well, dudes, I got to call it a night, but
I was going to say real quick, to Caleb's point, if you're shooting jacketed bullets, a lot of the stuff we were ramming about, throats and stuff, it really doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
For the jacketed bullet stuff, and for most people who are getting into it, jacketed bullets are good. And I tell you, a little side benefit: you can fire lap a barrel by shooting a bunch of jacketed bullets through it. It's just not as cheap as doing it with a bunch of cast bullets with Bryan's.
Also, if your gun likes, and this is one of those where I am very like again, having seen their performance, and not just with the 44 mag, if your gun likes the Barnes solid copper hollow points, you're set. Just get those, buy them, hand load them, buy them from Barnes, buy them from Federal. I don't care where you get them, but if your gun likes those, because not all guns do like them, some guns don't like them that much, but if you get a gun that likes them, great, you're done.
There's very few guns that I found that don't like horny XTPs.
They
shoot fantastic. They're cheap, and they work great. We killed a bunch of stuff with them. So
I got 3 cases of Hornady XTPs that I'm bringing to Revolver Fest. So
there you go. So,
but Bryan's done. I'm also done.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna get there.
Fun, but I was in this beautiful paradise of Wyoming last weekend, and I kind of need to spend some fam time. So, but as much as I would love nothing more than to, degenerate out with you guys, but
I'm sure we'll do it again.
Yeah.
A reloading episode too.
Ah, there you go.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And I messaged Tank. I don't think he received it, but
We'll get with Tank.
I'll give it
We
a
can
shout.
get a hold of Tank. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
before you guys take off, and then Brian, I'll have you go first. For big bores, what is your preferred choice in caliber and gun, and what do you use it for? And then where can people find you?
See, preferred choice of gun is probably like I'm real hot on 44 mag and Super Blackhawks right now, especially the stainless guns, because my idea of gun maintenance is shoot them till they quit working and then sell them. So,
Heard you say that.
yeah, but you can't kill the Rugers, man. So, but I like the 44 mag stainless Super Blackhawks. I'm pretty high on those, and mainly because I can go from 44 special loads in a 44 mag case to hang on, it's getting sporty, and kind of all points in between. 44 mag, the other thing is if you're in Wyoming and you stop into the, hair care tire store / sporting goods store /
one.
they generally have some flavor of 44 mag ammo. So that's
I know
kind of my
exactly which store you went in and found that, by the way.
yeah. Well, Laramie Fish and Tackle, baby.
West Laramie Fly Shop.
There it is.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the place that convinced me that if you're going to hunt with anything that doesn't start with 30 or 40, make sure you got plenty of your own ammo. About 30 years ago. But where can you find me? AmericanFightingRevolver.com, AFR official, or American Fighting Revolver on all the socials. We do some YouTube activity. I'm probably going to drop a YouTube video around September 4th on an upcoming Taurus. And there's a lot of good stuff coming out that will be on Lipsy's YouTube channel coming up real quick. We also have revolverfest.com. That's the hub for find out what we're doing at Revolver Fest. So yeah, that's about the extent of it.
Cool. Caleb?
All right, dudes. Y'all have a good one.
See you, Brian.
Thanks.
See you, buddy.
So Caleb, big bore caliber, what gun do you shoot it through, preferred, and where can people find you?
Favorite big bore caliber is unquestionably 44 Magnum. If I could only have one, like I actually thought about this, if I could only have one caliber of gun for the rest of my life, it would in fact be 44 Magnum, because I can basically do everything with it, from shoot very light 44 specials all the way up to, okay, sure, I probably can't hunt elephants with a 44 mag, but pretty much damn near anything else that walks on four legs on earth has been killed with 44 mag at some point. My preferred platform is the Taurus Raging Hunter, which I've shot a lot of stuff out of with that 44 mag. My second favorite choice would be the Super Blackhawk, because God, I love a single action. So like if you're doing 44 mag and you want to do double action, I would say get the Taurus Raging Hunter, because the gun's built to handle, your craziest high pressure buffalo bore, 325 grain hard casts at Mock Jesus. And if you like a single action, get the Super Blackhawk. And I say that with a lot of love in my heart for Ruger. Where to find me? I am the marketing manager for Taurus USA. So a lot of our content you're going to see me in, and then on my personal stuff, I'm on Instagram at Radicaleb, on YouTube as Mr. Revolver, and Facebook as Caleb Giddings. Just search for me. Don't try to friend me. Go follow the other page, because there's two of me on there. But yeah, and again, it's the best. Now is the best time to get into big bore revolvers, guys. There's so many great ones out there. Go get a Taurus. Like, do I want you to get a Taurus? Yes, because that pays my mortgage. Are there a lot of really other good guns out there? Yeah, there are. And I'm not one of those brand guys who's like, you should only buy our shit. No, just buy a good. Go buy a Ruger. I'm not gonna be mad if you buy a Ruger. It's a really fucking good gun. But buy a Taurus because they're better and it pays my mortgage. Good night, everyone.
Cool. Thanks.
See ya.
There was a question that did come up.
He's on Eastern time.
Oh, there was a question that came up specifically for Lipsies.
Yeah.
Did you cover 4570 Derringers yet?
So I got a funny story about that, and Jason was there. A good friend of ours. You know what's coming. The BFRs, they do in 4570, and I think they're a 3-shot, right?
No, it's a weird cut on that cylinder, but it's a 5-shot gun.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Brett at Magnum Research, wonderful guy, brought a ton of them out, and our friend who I won't name, first name Mick, was shooting it, and he was just shooting whatever load somebody put in it, and it was like cowboy load, somebody's bear defense, 405 hard cast at Mach 3, and that thing came back and split his head open, and I was certain he died. It cut the bill of his hat in half.
It was bad.
So at that point, I was like, maybe I don't want to shoot a little 4570. I have shot one of the Derringers with Winchester cowboy loads in it, and it wasn't as terrible as I thought it would be, but not something I own or will own, most likely.
Those get into the stunt, guns for me, and it's like don't risk screwing up your shooting hand on something like that.
No.
So one of the cool things that we have is all of us, we have this progression with our knowledge, our skills, our understanding of firearms. Everyone's on different areas on this. Most listeners most likely are semi-auto people getting into revolvers if they haven't gone both feet yet. We have some really cool people around us. Chuck Haggard, Daryl Bulkey, Brian with a Y, Caleb. For me personally, they've provided some excellent insights. And it's interesting to see the things that they've told me about revolvers. Okay, I want to go in this direction. This is what I'm thinking. And they give this kind of guidance. And there's like specific things. Okay, bobbed hammer and 3-inch barrel and all this kind of stuff. And then you see Lipsies is listening, and Lipsies is providing these things that this is what the pros are saying that you want. And sure, I can go to Gunbroker and buy a stock Ruger with this stock configuration, or I can go and look at Lipsies and see this is way closer to what the guys that I really trust say, this is what I want to get. So as opposed to buying some stock, you name it, and then get custom work done to it, you can get it done ready to go from Lipsies. We've already seen the UCs. We've seen other things from that American Fighting Revolver's been able to consult on. What a cool thing. And we were talking about what's the brand that also did similar back in Lou Horton.
Yeah.
So when I was starting to heavily getting into revolvers, seeing the Horton models and going, holy crap. And I think I own one, and it's a 29, beautiful gun. Don't want to shoot it that much, but
3-inch 29.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's because of specifically Daryl's input. And now we have, and they've been out of business, or they've stopped for how long ago?
They've been out of business, I think it's around 2019. I think it's when it went out. Yeah.
And yeah, there's a decent price attached to their stuff. And now we have, and we have Lipsies who's doing the same thing. And these are functional. And I'm a big fan of functional.
Yeah.
And so it's so cool, especially Jason, to have you on these discussions so people can hear what you have to say and go, this guy knows what the hell's going on. And I'm hoping that gives people also an idea. Maybe they need to look at Lipsies because it just makes sense.
Yeah.
I think the UC and the mountain guns proved to Smith & Wesson that there's more to life than X-frames.
Yes.
And Shield semi-autos. Yeah. And I think it proved to Smith & Wesson that actually paying attention to this again is viable, that people do care about them. And that's a good thing for all of us because they're back to making a really nice gun.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people told me I haven't bought a new Smith & Wesson in 25 years, and I've bought 3 this year. You know, and it's like, okay, that's impactful. So, and if we can look, it's always, how do we, the market's always like, how do we get that new buyer? And I said, well, how about we get the old guys who haven't bought and give them something excited to get excited about? Because those guys they're already in. We don't have to convince them. We just got to give them a good product. And that formula seems to be working. So
Smith & Wesson never thought they'd sell 3,000 mountain guns in a year ever again.
And for me,
UCs.
Yeah. For me, the punchline of this also is several years ago, I was talking to Daryl about, you know what, I want to get a 44, get a mountain gun, go get a mountain gun. Okay. And I wound up getting an older mountain gun, a cool gun. And then you guys released them, and it's amazing how good advice just works.
Some concepts are pretty timeless and just need to be brought back. That's all. These guys, look, we're not doing anything that these guys didn't figure out 100 years ago. We're just
Coke in a bottle never goes out of style.
That's right. We're just putting it back out there, maybe with a little modern touches, but it's still the same concepts. So, and a lot of good
Jason.
stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So favorite big bore.
All right.
What are you shooting it through?
So I'm not going to take the cop out and go 44 Magnum like the other 2 guys, because 44 Magnum is the easy. But when we're talking about wrist-breaking big bores, I'm going 480 Ruger. 480 Ruger to me is the best of the bigger than 6-shot 45 Colt, big bore or 44 Magnums. It gives you a true increase in power without a huge increase in recoil. They're easy to carry. I mean, this gun in this holster, I can carry on my belt. Doesn't take up a lot of space. It's really no heavier than carrying a Model 29 Smith & Wesson 4-inch gun. But this gun is capable of doing anything I want to do. I shoot a 400 grain bullet. My everyday load's about 1,000 feet per second, but I can shoot up to 1,200 feet per second out of this gun. And it's extremely accurate. It's handsome. It shoots well. And I love it. So 480 Ruger would be my choice because I can. So, you can find us, Matt, at Lipsies.com or at Lipsies Guns on the social medias, Lipsies Guns on Facebook. Check out our YouTube channel. If you subscribe to that, that's where we put out anytime we have any new really cool projects, special revolvers or number ones, we're gonna do videos on them. So it's the easiest way to get the word out. So that's a great way for people to know what's coming up and what's out there. We've got our dealer finder on our website. So if you find a dealer on that website in your area, that means that guy's set up with us and he already has an account. Some people get frustrated. Hey, my brother-in-law's got an FFL. He tried to order a gun from you, and I'll pull it up and look, and they don't even have an account with us. I'm like, man, it's going to be a while. He's got to send his FFL in and fill out the paperwork and stuff. But if you go on that dealer finder, that guy's set up. He's ready to go. And so that's probably the best way to do it. So those are the places to find us where we do our stuff. Lipsies.com. We have everything there. Our exclusives are all in one section. Another little tidbit. Doing these projects, like these Bisley 480s and 454s, it's been a few years since we've had them, and it's a tough gun for Ruger to build, and they're getting some production back to be able to do those again. And so people ask me all the time, are these still in production? Are they discontinued? The best way you can look at it, if it's listed on our website, it means that it's still a current project. We might not have it in stock, and they might not be making them in the next 6 months, but it's not a discontinued item. So if it's still listed on the website, that means that we have orders in. And that's another thing. People go, oh, you need, I'm really upset y'all haven't ordered any more of those 454s. Buddy, I can promise you they've been on order ever since the last batch we've got. It's just they haven't built them yet. And so there's only so much production time. And so we kind of have to get in the queue there. So I can promise you if it's on our website, it's still active and it's on order. So you can that's a way to kind of gauge it and go from there. But I appreciate the time. It's always great talking with these guys. It's always great talking to you. It's a great platform. All you guys out there that are looking for this in-depth kind of information. There's not that many places there to get this anymore. Everybody, I get it all the time. I like those 2-minute videos. I'm like, okay, I can give you features and benefits in 2 minutes, but you're not going to learn about throat choke and how to lap a barrel in 2 minutes. It's just not going to happen. But these are things, if you're really interested in this stuff, this is a great resource. Guys at American Fighting Revolver are doing a great job. But, go check out the old books, any of John Taffin's books, Hamilton Bowen's books, those kind of things. Get those books and read them, man. That's some good stuff. Look at those old pictures. They'll give you great ideas. And let me tell you, when you look at those guns, you'll see a pattern. You'll see 5.5-inch barrel guns with Bisley grip frames and this kind of stuff. And there's a reason why. It's not because that's what the Glock of the day was. Yeah. It's because that's the feature set that those guys who actually went out and tested all this stuff have come to consensus. This is what you want. And so they did all the testing. So you can kind of go back and look at those old resources and get a good head start. But
yeah. And you guys just had a video also with Daryl.
Yeah, so those guys were just down. They spent a couple of days with us, and we did some videoing. We shot some windshields with 32 H&R Magnum loads. Had some very interesting results. So we'll see some new cool videos on that. We've got some new products we're about to launch. We've got some new revolvers that'll be launching here in the next probably about the next 2 weeks. And we just launched the stainless 3-inch SP101s and 327 Federal and 357 Magnum. They're in stock as of today and available. Those guns came out really nice. We'll have probably 2 more launches with Smith & Wesson this year. We'll probably see some more mountain guns, and we will probably see some more carry variations coming out. So I think some stuff people are going to really like. Of course, SHOT Show we'll have a big launch there too. So it's a process. It takes a little time to get these things done, but hopefully they're worth it for everybody.
Awesome.
So I appreciate it, Matt. John, always good seeing you, man.
Yeah, man. Talk to you soon.
Take care. Y'all have a good night.
You too.
Good night.
Okay.
John, take it away.
We covered the 45 Colt pretty hard the last go round. And if we're calling that a big bore, that's probably, if I had to pick one gun, it's going to be a 45 Colt, probably a 6-shot, maybe with an oversized cylinder if I want to get stupid with it. But a Black Hawk and 45 Colt with the features I like on it would be fine. If we're talking big bore, what I consider big bore, 4 3/4 Vaquero converted 500 line ball would be my walking around gun with a 430 grain bullet going 950 feet per second. If I
not wad cutters, what?
And I were they're practically wad cutters. They're wide and flat enough.
Yeah.
They're just not down in the case. If I were one of you guys watching and you're starting new, I would suggest look at a Magnum Research BFR. They're mechanically perfect. They might not be as pretty as one of Hamilton Bowen's guns, but they're mechanically perfect. I can't believe they can afford to sell those guns for what they do. You can get them for $1,200 to $1,400 on Gun Broker right now. And if I were a reloader wanting to get into big bores, I would do a 500 JRH. It's a true 500, not a 510 like the line ball. And what you get, it's essentially 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum Special. Jack Huntington made it fit in a smaller frame gun than an X frame. And it will do anything a 500 line ball will. A little bit higher pressure, but it doesn't matter. The guns are made for it. And the bullet selection of those 500 caliber projectiles is much wider. You can get solids from cutting edge. You can get all kinds of stuff. So if you're new to it and you want to get into it and you're a reloader, 500 JRH BFR, I think, is like the sweet spot to enter where you're not going to have any problems as long as your reloading process is good. And if you're not a reloader, get a 480 Ruger.
Cool.
Double action, single action. You can get it in the BFR too. Right now, I'd probably trust that gun more. Just mechanically, they're so good. You're not giving up anything. And yeah, get a 480 BFR and go buy factory ammo and have at it.
It was funny. You guys were talking about reloading and stuff and getting into the big bore reloading.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, if you want to be a Elmer Keith reenactor, you can do some really interesting stuff.
You're not practically going to shoot even the 480. You can get the factory load for it, but you're not going to get into anything above a 45 Colt outside of the X frames. There's plenty of ammo for that. Smith & Wesson subsidized partnerships with Federal. I think the X frames are neat. I don't think they are a good big bore gun because I don't think it's not portable. It's a rifle without a stock. Even the short barrel ones, they're big kludgy guns. They made a lot of compromises to fit a cartridge that big. I want basically the same frame I would have in a 44 or a 45. I just want it launching that big bullet. Yeah. But you can't practically do it without being a reloader. Grizzly loads ammo, and it's okay. They use really good bullets. They bought cast performance bullets, and they're nice bullets. To me, like Buffalo Bore, you get what you pay for. I know Steve doesn't load the big boomers, or that's who I'd buy my stuff from. And then Area Ballistics, Aria, they load phenomenal ammo, and they do load development for you. But again, you're paying for those services. But when you get into the $3 to $4 a round, I don't think it's as practical, especially if you want to get into it and learn. So I would steer everybody that wants to get into real big bores, which I consider 5-shot 45 Colt and above, minus the X frames. Those are stronger factory rounds than not. You learn to reload. Go take an NRA metallic case cartridge reloading class. It'll be one Saturday, and even if you didn't even know that existed. It's a really good one. I know if you're in northern Colorado, there's a guy that teaches them. He owns Colorado Custom Cartridge, and he does load development for the DoD and stuff like that. I've been to his shop, and that was the most phenomenal class I've ever taken of any sort. But even if you don't want to reload, you learn so much about the why ammo's made the way it is. And if everybody, there's your mileage may vary on the instructor, but I thought the curriculum for the NRA basic metallic case cartridge reloading was fantastic. So go take a Saturday. You get to load around and take it with you, but you get to learn so much about reloading and what makes a cartridge, why case fill matters, why propellant shape matters, why different primers are what they are, the difference in magnum and standard, small and large, rifle and pistol, match, for what that's worth. That'll probably get you hooked on it, but you don't have to go reload like Jason and Brian and I do, where you have a laboratory.
Yeah.
You can truly get, if you just want to load pistol ammo one round at a time, go get an RCBS Rebel kit and a set of $30 Lee dies and learn how to do it. Because it's more about your process than the equipment. And I know you're going to do a reloading episode. We'll save all this. And this is for Steve to talk about. This is what he does for a living. He's a wizard.
Yeah.
But, your process matters more than the equipment. All the equipment's okay. People take hand presses to the range and load it one at a time.
Yeah, but, Gary Hughes has been posting about that.
Being very, very meticulous about your process and like hyper focused. Lock the door. Don't let your kids come in and ask questions. Don't have a TV playing in the background. Do nothing but pay attention to the ammo. And I mean, it's not terribly hard to learn. If you screw it up, there can be consequences, and that's what you're trying to avoid. But man, learn to reload. Take that NRA class, even if you're never going to reload around past that one you do, and you'll learn a ton about ammo. So I'd highly recommend that to everybody. And then get a 22 and set it up the exact same as the gun that's going to give you carpal tunnel and wind up with an elbow replacement in your late 30s like I got. So yeah, get a 22, man. Don't develop bad habits in a flinch. Shoot that thing 10-1 for your big bore, and the grip, the side alignment, the trigger squeeze, all the fundamentals are exactly the same. You're just not paying the cost and recoil penalty. And the best tool to learn to shoot a big bore revolver is a small bore revolver.
Good stuff. Yeah. Now, what about where people can find you?
You can't, if I don't know you, don't
friend me on Facebook or anything. I just won't respond. No offense. I just,
Yeah.
it's friend list. We're not friends. I work at Ace Virtual Shooting, so vastly different from 50 caliber hand-built revolvers is my day job in tech. We do, if Matt's familiar with it, I think we're going to do an episode on that here when we get a little breathing room. But we do virtual reality shooting, and it's hyper realistic. You don't get recoil. You still have to shoot your gun. You do give up a couple things. But when you compare it to dry fire, especially when we're talking shot process across multiple targets, stage planning, fundamentals, they all apply in Ace. And you can put it in your backpack and take it with you anywhere you go where it's hard to get to a range now. So Ace Virtual Shooting.
And not only that, there's a commercial side. You have a commercial side and a government side where there are additional features.
We're a startup. I think we're at 12 people right now. I think we're about to hire a 13th. But it is a startup. The company's been around 2 years. Very, very scrappy. We're kind of in a weird spot where we're a tiny startup company. We're also the biggest in the world. So depending on how you look at it. But it's growing super fast. You're going to see a lot out of Ace, a lot of diversification and growth and reinvestment in the next year. And, we're super excited about it. But yeah, definitely check it out. It's not a game. It's not a gimmick. It really works. I got options. If it was, I'd work somewhere else.
But it is tremendously fun.
It is fun. It's not a game, but it's an absolute blast. And, I think dry fire still has tremendous value. But I think if you had to pick one or the other, the upfront investment, you're $500 into a headset, but it's also something your kids can use, as Matt will tell you. And it's got a lot of other applications other than Ace. It's just one app that runs on it.
Yep.
And then you've got a handset that uses the Meta controller. And when you put that thing on, man, you think you're on the range. You'll know the first time you run into one of your walls because you forget where you're at. There's safety settings for that, by the way. If you don't set them up, it's on you. But virtual shooting, it's a real thing. It's coming and it's going to get stronger.
Yeah.
And it is a blast. It's a fun industry to be in, and it's a fun time in the company to be a part of it.
Heck yeah. Yeah, from personal experience, it's possible to sink in a lot of time, and it's beneficial time. But
I will also check the comments on this YouTube video to see how stupid I sounded when people call me out. So I'll occasionally respond to stuff in there if there's questions. And then I don't know of a good way to do it, but I put a link in the private chat that's got my the Linebaugh, all the John Linebaugh's gun notes that were on his website before they took it down, and he gave them away free to the public. So, I mean, it's free to distribute. And then all of John Taffin's Taffin test for every cartridge he did. I don't know if there's a way for P&S to share that somehow.
Oh, yeah.
Somewhere. So download it out of there, Matt, and tell everybody where they can find it, because that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
When those guys passed away, the websites went away, and I can
like put it on a Dropbox and have it public, and then link that to the description of this video.
So if you're new to this or you're interested in it, all the actual load data that we kind of glossed over because we talked about a lot of cartridges tonight, all of that stuff is in there, and that's probably the two best resources for it that I know, because Hodgdon's won't have most of this stuff. Because it's not SAMI approved. So as far as load data goes, I mean, 5-shot 45 Colts in there. The other resource, if you're getting into this stuff, Single Actions, the Single Actions forums, I think it's singleactions.com. The guy that owns it is a tremendous gunsmith and shooter in his own right, Lee Martin, and he's got a lot of really good articles where he he goes through, hey, I'm going to build my own 5-shot 45, and soup to nut shows you the entire process, because it's not a job for him. It's something he does for himself for fun, and his load data. And then if you go in the forums, that's probably like the one of the most well moderated repositories of revolver information on the planet. So give a poke in there and check it out. There's a lot of good information. Some bad, mostly good. Pretty good ratio for an internet forum. So check those out if you're interested, and yeah, hopefully you can get those documents posted up, because that's the
easy day,
the absolute, grail of information for this stuff is those two guys who unfortunately passed away in the last couple of years.
Yeah. Well, big thanks to the panel. Only John's left.
Yeah.
Big thanks to he's all that's left. But yeah, also big thank you to the viewer or the listener. Also big thank you to our sponsors, Lucky Gunner, Philster, Walther. Also our Patreon supporters, the network supporters, all those people. If you like what we do, hit patreon.com/primary and secondary. From there, you can help support this whole network. We got all these resources. 3-hour discussion tonight on big board stuff, talked about all kinds of stuff. Fantastic discussion as per the norm. And yes, we do have an ace episode on the way. We actually even have a reloading episode. We have one discussing, what was it? We mentioned it. I can't even remember. It's been a long day. But yeah, still have a bunch of episodes on the horizon. This one actually made it. YouTube didn't kill it right off the bat. It still might get killed. If it does disappear, I'll be throwing it back. I'll edit and put it back up. So that is pretty much everything. I am now going to go upstairs and make sure a 4-year-old is in bed, because it's past his bedtime.
Could go either way.
Yeah. We'll see you guys later.
See ya.